Are they going to prop him up like Obama?
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, October 21st, 2018. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1079.
This is No Agenda.
In America's official Formula One home, and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State, here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio, in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I can assure you with some authority that most Dijon mustard sold in the United States is stale.
It's Craig Bottom Buzzkill in the morning.
I'm sorry. I stepped all over you. You went so long. I'm like, what are you doing? Hello?
Well, if you did a time analysis of how long I go, it's so short that I figure once in a while I can say something more than the normal nothing.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. Just to do this for me, say, I'm John C. Dvorak.
I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Craig Bottom Buzzkill in the morning.
You'll never hear it in the final mix. It'll sound perfect, I promise.
Yeah, I doubt it. You're not going to fix that.
Now, what was this about mustard?
Most Dijon mustard sold in the United States is stale.
Oh.
It has none of that. If you go to France and have Dijon mustard, I don't care where you get it. It's got a bite.
Oh, but what happened? What happened? Did you get a nasty Dijon?
No, I was just thinking about it because I noticed that recently, within the last 6 months, Costco brought a bunch of Miley Dijon mustard in a 2-pack of the regular hot Dijon and that giant old-fashioned stuff with the big grains, big mustard seeds.
Yeah.
And when you went to buy it, if you bought it when it came in because it was a good deal, it was the real deal. It was a hot Dijon mustard. It was just enough, it was just really go right through your nose. It was like wasabi. And a month later, if you went back to get another batch of it, by then it was already lost that pungency. It just goes away.
It's an outrage.
It oxidizes so fast, or whatever. I think it was probably slightly oxidized when they shipped it over. But
okay. I have to interject.
It's annoying. I can't buy a good bottle of Dijon mustard in the United States.
I have to interject with a show business story. Back in the day, MTV days, when I had money, I had a Rolls Royce, a Silver Shadow 2. I bought it secondhand, but it was in, it only had 7,000 miles on it. Perfect. I drove it into
that's a good deal.
Yeah, drove it into Manhattan every single day. And this was the time, I don't even remember the commercial on television. There would be two Rolls Royces parked next to each other, and the guy in the back, the window would go down, and what would he say?
Said, do you have any Grey Poupon?
Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon? So I had, of course, every douchebag on Route 3, going into the tunnel would honk, "Hey, man, you got any Grey Poupon?" And I would open my glove box and, why, yes, I do. And I had my Grey Poupon right there.
Yeah. Well, Grey Poupon, of course, which was first introduced to the United States by Hubeline, is not Grey Poupon from France. They licensed the name and they made it kind of a brown mustard that is very mild. Last time I looked, I could be wrong, they may have changed it, but in Canada, the Grey Poupon is actually made in France, and it is the Dijon mustard with the bite to it.
I heard that San Francisco is now the king of making the Poupon. Okay. Hey-o! All right. Hey, John. It's been quite a few days, and I think we're getting closer to understanding the Khashoggi mysteries.
Well, I have a number of clips, including, I think, a pretty good roundup.
All right. Already?
Go on to my clips. It should say roundup on there, a good roundup.
I've got an update wrap. It says nothing about roundup. Wrap would be it.
Saudi Arabia's public prosecutor said 18 Saudi nationals were arrested, including the men who were present when Khashoggi died. But the new version of events that the Washington Post columnist was killed as the result of a, quote, brawl shortly after he arrived at the consulate is being widely questioned. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said, quote, still nothing has been clarified about Khashoggi's death, and, quote, we demand to know what happened.
Wait, Angela Merkel's involved with this now? Why is she all of a sudden in this convo?
How should I know? It's ridiculous.
Members of Congress from both parties also dismissed the Saudi government's latest version of what happened. The ranking Democrat on the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, tweeted that the claim was, quote, not at all credible. If he was fighting with those sent to capture or kill him, it was for his life. Republican Senator Rand Paul tweeted, quote, "What they did was unacceptable, and I call on my colleagues in Congress to join me in denouncing their behavior and changing how we treat them." A senior official of Turkey's ruling party said today that Turkey would never, quote, "allow a cover-up of this crime."
Turkey will not let this ugly, frightening, inhumane case go, which was against humanity.
Turkish officials have said that they have audio evidence that Khashoggi was deliberately killed and dismembered. Yesterday, President Trump was asked if he thought the Saudis' new explanation was credible.
I do. I mean, it's early. We haven't finished our review or investigation, but I think it's a very important first step, and it happened sooner than people thought it would happen.
Oh, man. I think we need to play the jingle for this.
Distraction of the week. Hey, on No Agenda. Look over there.
This is one of the better ones, John, because we have, of course, Khashoggi's disappearance, killing, dismemberment, whatever it is the distraction from what this is really about. And this is very big on a grand political scale, what's taking place here. And I'm not sure Trump was ready for this, because the main thing, first of all, let's just step back. So boo-hoo, Saudi Arabia killed a Saudi on their own turf, which is an embassy, is Saudi Arabia. There's no jurisdiction from any other country over that. The country that stones women, beheads people, kills them. Most of the 9/11 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. No, now we have to get outraged. So obviously there's something else going on in the background, and it's much bigger than background. And I'll just give you the main two pieces is we have the U.S. and Saudi Arabia doing a number of things, mainly preparing to supply oil and continue to supply oil and gasoline and oil products to the world, while on November 3rd, the full-on sanctions for Iran go into effect, blocking Iran from trading oil through U.S. dollars and U.S. payment systems. And, of course, we have China and Russia and a whole bunch of countries who would like to participate in oil trade with Iran. And if we somehow get in a spat with the Saudis and they either stop oil production or set it at $300 a barrel or whatever could happen or may not happen, that gives the European Union, who I'm looking at in this case, free license to go and get oil from Iran, which they are already in discussions. In fact, when I get this report, confirmation, Europe is finalizing the mechanism for cooperation for buying oil and oil products from Iran. So this seems to be, as always, about oil, turf, and there's always a hooker in there.
Well, first of all, I got to call you on the distraction of the week. It's not a distraction if it's politically motivated to actually accomplish something. So it's more than a distraction.
I'm saying the distraction is the killing. But okay, all right, I'll give you that. It doesn't matter. It's just it's distracting everyone from looking at what's really going on. Let me put it that way. Does that make sense?
It is. I believe that's true, but at the same time, it does have a purpose.
Now, I looked into this Khashoggi guy as deep as I could go.
The deeper you go, the more sketchy this guy is. And
let's just say I need Al Sharpton to do a story on him, because that will be, for the No Agenda show, the official pronunciation. I cannot wait. Everybody, please record Al Sharpton as often as possible. We need to get his pronunciation of Khashoggi.
I think he's still got that once-a-week show.
Now, Khashoggi spoke on behalf and at the Council on Foreign Relations. So that gives you any idea of where he may be allied. But he did this 9 months after 9/11. And it was on C-SPAN. And what he said himself is not so interesting. He's not very, certainly in 2002 was when this C-SPAN thing took place, or this event for the Council on Foreign Relations took place that was broadcast on C-SPAN. His English is not very good. Certainly, he has to have someone must be rewriting his articles from back in that period. But what I found interesting was his introduction, by the then executive editor of the Washington Post, Wappo Wappo Wappo. So again, this is 2002, 9 months after 9/11, and he introduced Jamal Khashoggi and read a number of excerpts from his articles at the time, which I think really sets the stage as to who this guy was, what he was writing about, and why would anyone be so in love with him?
I thought that I would get things going by reading a few provocative quotations from our guest and then turn it over to him. The first is from a piece that doesn't have a date on it, but it's in the last few months, which began this way. Americans want unconditional condemnation of the horrible attacks that happen in their skies and on their land. They also want total cooperation in their fight against terror, according to their own definition of what terrorism is and exactly who the terrorists are. But Saudi Arabia will not give in to such demands. Saudis tend to link the ugliness of what happened in New York and Washington with what has happened and continues to happen in Palestine. It is time that the United States comes to understand the effect of its foreign policy and the consequences of that policy. But unfortunately, such rationalization is still not part of the American reality.
You feel where he's coming from? He's basically like, hey man, you want to blame us, you want to blame the Saudis, but look at what you're doing with Israel and Palestine. That's what his message has been consistently.
Or a piece from the Daily Star. What is the Daily Star?
That's the Lebanese Daily.
Oh yes, of course, I know that. From January 15th. An excerpt. It has been clear for some time that the Bush administration is inexperienced in foreign affairs. In fact, had it not been for the 9/11 attacks, the Bush administration would have liked nothing better than to isolate itself from the rest of the world altogether. Even after it declared its war on terror, the administration didn't seem to have a coherent idea of its objectives. The Americans have also been relying on advice from the Israelis, who view the Arab Muslim world from the extremely narrow perspective of their own interests. While such an approach is certainly not in the interests of a global power with wide-ranging relations, such as the United States, we cannot but resign ourselves to this fact and try to cut our losses the best way we can, so long as the Americans are happy with this bizarre situation.
And the last bit?
Another paragraph from the same piece. September 11th made matters worse in Saudi-American relations. The attacks provoked a torrent of hate toward Saudi Arabia from U.S. opinion shapers that couldn't but influence the American public. I happen to believe that the aim of this anti-Saudi campaign wasn't to further American interests, but to absolve Israel and the blind American support for the Jewish state of responsibility for what happened on September 11th.
Did he just blame Israel for 9/11? Did he just blame Israel?
Sounds like it.
I found that expressing this opinion greatly angers U.S. columnists who explain it away as implicit support for the crimes committed on that day. So you can see our guest is not a man who shies away from telling us what he thinks.
So, and
I wish it would have cut into the part where it says his name.
The editor's name?
No, the editor says, I'd like to introduce Khashoggi or Khashoggi or
he says Khashoggi. He says Khashoggi. But Khashoggi himself was not that interesting. He was just going on droning. The thing is, another part of our deal with Saudi Arabia is actually what Jared Kushner is doing. Jared Kushner, who is, this is very funny if you see what they're saying about him. He was working directly with MBS, with Mohammed bin Salman, working directly with him to figure out the two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. And that's why Trump was always so confident talking about, it's a tough thing that would be the biggest deal in the world to do. And, and then he appointed Jared to be a part of that. And we had strengthened our relationship with the Saudis, which I think had soured a little bit when Trump went to talk at the UN and said, hey, OPEC, you're not holding to our deal. You were supposed to keep these prices down at a normal level. And, obviously they're not at the level Trump would like them to see, or anybody for that matter. But it seems like a lot of this comes back to the Palestine-Israel agreement back to 2002 when Khashoggi was writing about it. And just I'll take this little side route about Jared Kushner, knowing that that's what he's been doing, or that's what we've been told he's been doing. Here was Texas Representative Joaquin Castro from San Antonio talking about what Kushner may have, what his involvement may have been in this Khashoggi affair.
I know, Poppy, that there's been a lot of discussion about this. There'll be more discussion on CNN and all the other networks today. Let me get to the point that I think is most disturbing right now. The reporting that Jared Kushner may have, with U.S. intelligence, delivered a hit list, an enemies list, to the Crown Prince, to MBS in Saudi Arabia, and that the Prince then may have acted on that, and one of the people that he took action against is Mr. Khashoggi.
Just to be clear, Congressman, we don't have, I just want to be clear for our viewers, we do not have that reporting. I'm not sure where you're getting that from.
There has been reporting to that effect. Sure.
Not CNN
I've seen reporting to that effect. Sure. But the long and short of it is that needs to be investigated. This entire the entire timeline of what happened, of any sharing of American intelligence with the Saudis and how they may have used that intelligence, needs to be investigated by the Intelligence Committee in the House and in the Senate.
Yeah, blah blah blah. I just thought it was funny that he gave MBS a hit list, kill this guy. Yeah, that's Jared Kushner, all right. I can see him doing that.
Well, I think it's when he's investigating is where that story comes about, because this guy, this Texas guy,
Castro, yeah,
he's on the Intelligence Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, so he would be privy to some screwy stuff, and he may be just a.
Are you sure that's this guy who's on the Intelligence Committee?
Yeah, that's him.
I thought it was Hurd. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
No, Hurd isn't Hurd isn't Hurd a Republican?
Yes, you're right. Hurd's the Republican spook. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy is the Democrat, and he's spewing this weird stuff.
Yeah.
And, she pushes back against it, which I thought was kind of interesting, which is, I think she'd jump all over it.
So here's where I need help. So clearly someone wanted to the way I see it, someone wanted to muck up the U.S.-Saudi relationship. There's a lot of Palestine love in our government. There's definitely still a lot of Iran love in our government. Remember, our government made a huge deal under Obama with the Iranian regime. So somewhere, why no one's saying, the Russians did it, or somehow someone's involved in Trump was not ready for it. You can see it. He's like, oh crap. How do I do this? Well, maybe you can get away with arresting people and my advisor, and as we talked about, the old man, the king is now looking at, should I keep this kid here or get someone else in? There's rumors that he may be out, but this was a big play by someone, and it might work.
Well, I think they're still going to pin it on the one of the intelligence guys in the Saudi government, and they're going to hang a few of them.
Yeah,
and that will be the. These guys will be taking one for the team.
But does bin Salman, does he survive this? Because I think he's got a lot of enemies in Saudi Arabia as well.
Yeah, he does. He has tons of enemies, and he has his whole family. He's not the guy that they thought were going to run the place, and I'm sure there's siblings and other creeps around the palace intrigue sort of thing that we read about or watch when you watch the Game of Thrones or something like that. You get this sense that this kind of thing is going on all the time. And I think you're right. I think Trump was flat-footed. I'm sure they're having meetings about this constantly, because there's still Trump's preoccupied with the arms deal. He thinks that's
but the problem is that the House triggered the Magnitsky Act letter. And Trump has to respond within 120 days, which I think is long enough for him to figure something out they would want to do about this. But the idea is to block Saudi Arabia, to cause a rift between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Which, hey, I don't like these fuckers either. But it doesn't seem like it's going to do good for anybody if that happens. Except for the Europeans, who will get cheap oil. I mean, maybe MI6 is doing this. Maybe the UK wants the deal with Iran. I don't know. Someone wants the deal with Iran to go through for the EU and China and Russia. And we know it's not the Trump White House. That's what it seems to be. Everything else is unimportant.
I don't get why the Russians haven't been implicated. This has got Russia. I think it's less likely that's MI6 because they're still dealing with this Brexit mess.
Yeah, I agree.
And you have Russia. Russia is
they
Putin benefit greatly, it seems to me.
And Putin, Putin just came out over the weekend saying, well, and I've asked a couple of our Russian producers to check authenticity of what he said to me, but as what I've received so far is it looks like it was. He said, America is in its sunset, they're at the end of their power, it's diminishing, and this will be all over soon. That was the gist of what Putin said. So it seems like that comes at a good time. So this would be an opportune time to say it was the Russians who at least made this a big deal.
I'm not getting why our news media, which is also anti-Russian, all of a sudden is now like giving him a pass on this and not even mentioning the possibilities. It seems as they don't even want to speculate. And they speculate about everything that has to do with Trump, but they won't speculate about this because, and they keep referring to him, as you saw in the RAP report, he's only referred to as Washington Post columnist.
No, journalist. They have the galls to call him a journalist.
Yeah, journalist.
Yeah. No, he's a columnist, a blogger.
He's a blogger.
And he's been staunchly anti-American since 2002 when he started, telling us to shut up.
Well, let's play the other two clips I have about him. They're both short. Now, I'm going to play the shortest one first because I'm thinking, first of all, who does Amnesty International think they are to do what they're doing here? Play this Khashoggi Amnesty.
Amnesty International is calling on Saudi Arabia to immediately turn over the remains of Jamal Khashoggi to an independent autopsy. The human rights group says that the Saudi government's new explanation that the U.S.-based journalist died after a fist fight in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul is not credible. U.S. allies and lawmakers also have doubts.
Yeah, let's hear some audio for a second. I'd like to hear the dismemberment audio, please, for $400, Alex.
No, here's what this clip is about. It's about, what is Amnesty International? What are they demanding this and demanding? Why don't we do it? No Agenda show demands that the remains, the pieces of Khashoggi
be sent to Austin, Texas.
Sent to the state legislature in Austin,
Texas. We need to know what's going on. We need all the pieces. And we need an IKEA assembly manual to put them back together. And also, no one is really talking about Turkey, who seem to be completely believable all of a sudden. Yeah, Turkey. Yeah, we should trust those guys. They're completely independent in this.
In the first RAP report that we played at the beginning, that Turkey was mentioned in there. So they're not going to let this happen, and they're going to get to the bottom of it all over. Now, you did reference a point. The Saudi consulate is sovereign territory for Saudi Arabia. You can't just go barging in there.
They can do whatever, and they can do whatever they want. Whatever the laws of Saudi Arabia are, they can implement there. And
you could technically, in theory or in reality, the Turks could surround the building, bust through the door and go in there and do an investigation, and then that would result in the Turkish embassy from Saudi Arabia being shipped out of there. It would cause an international problem. It's what happened to we had a consulate in Iran in 1979 that got raided. So you can do it, but technically you can't do it. And so I don't understand what the Turks are, what they're all this, their big fuss. And where is the tape?
That's the part that it will go down in history as they recorded it and no one will have ever heard it. It'll never be broadcast because it likely doesn't exist. Although I would think that if you have an embassy in Turkey and you're the Saudi embassy, that thing is bugged. And that's the kind of tape they're talking about. Here's NPR about Turkey.
Despite last night's revelations, there are still many, many questions about this whole episode, including what possible goal the Saudis could have had and Turkey's role in all of this. Turkey has been a key source of both leaked and public information, but as our next guest points out, that country's human rights record is no better than Saudi Arabia's. Mr. Cordesman, thanks so much for talking with us.
A pleasure.
You pointed out that Turkey's human rights record is no different or no better, really, than Saudi Arabia's when it comes to suppressing dissent, suppressing media criticism. So first of all, is it fair to assume that the details that we've been getting so far from the Turkish media and other sources came with the approval of the Turkish government? If that's the case, what's Turkey's role in this? What's their agenda in this?
Well, I think it's hard to be precise, but Turkey is actively competing with Saudi Arabia for influence in the Middle East, in the Arab world. So what we're looking at is a country that has every reason to try to sort of reduce the Saudi profile and influence in the region, and that includes ties to the United States, because Turkey's relations with the U.S. have become increasingly bad because of the authoritarian shift under Erdogan. In the State Department country reports on human rights, they're discouraging for the whole region. You have 3 countries with something approaching a decent record, Jordan in particular, but Morocco and Tunisia as well. What Saudi Arabia has been found, I think, to have been doing is almost standard operating procedure for virtually every country in the area. And certainly, if you look at the numbers for Turkey, it's arrested, detained, and disappeared far more people in the last 2 years than Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, we should totally believe them. They sound legit.
Here's the clip with this is the last clip. It's Khashoggi. This is the Holly Williams report.
It was around 1 o'clock in the morning local time when Saudi Arabia finally changed its story, admitting after nothing but angry denials that veteran journalist and Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi had died inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. He walked in, apparently to get some official paperwork on October 2nd, and was killed, according to the new Saudi account, after getting into a fight and a quarrel. 18 Saudi nationals have been arrested by their government, and several officials have been fired, including the former deputy head of intelligence, Ahmed al-Asiri, thought to have been close to Saudi Arabia's powerful crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman. But Saudi Arabia's new version of events has left many deeply unconvinced, including Khashoggi's longtime friend, Turan Kışlakçı.
Was he the kind of man who would walk into the Saudi Arabian consulate and get involved in a fight?
Jamal, I think he can't fight anything,
Khashoggi's fiancée, Hatice Cengiz, said today in a tweet, "May God have mercy on you, my beloved Jamal." Khashoggi had become an outspoken critic of the Crown Prince. He'd been living in self-imposed exile in the US since last year over fears for his safety.
So, I really don't know. I mean, I really like the Putin angle, because so many things are just happening coincidentally. Putin comes out right at this moment, says, "Oh, America's on the way down. Oh, it's not going to happen." At the very moment where the EU is finalizing negotiations with Iran, and you know that the only way the U.S. stops Iranian oil sales is by blocking them from payment networks, the banks, etc. You just can't transfer your dollars. But I think maybe that's what Putin's talking about. If the relations between us and the Saudis really sours when it comes to the oil, we're going to see oil traded. It's already being traded in euros, but it's going to be a lot of euros. And the European Union's not our friend in this. They're doing deals while this is taking place. And yes, that benefits Russia, benefits China, doesn't benefit us. And we can't replace Saudi's oil with anything cheaper, can we? We have no way to do that.
We have our own oil. We could do it. If we went back to coal, we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there is currently no mechanism to replace what we import with our own stuff. It's just not happening that way.
The Saudi is something like 10% of the world's supply. Now, the funny thing is there is a report that I read, and I didn't get a clip or anything. Somebody sent it. One of our producers sent it in. It was a news report about the fact that apparently there's something like 10 million. There's a number of tankers full of oil.
Oh yeah, just floating around, getting ready.
Some island. They're just sitting there waiting to be dumped on the market because the price of oil has been creeping up, and this could be oil speculators. I mean,
I like that idea too. So it would go what, $100 plus, $100 a barrel plus?
That would be the idea.
Yeah.
To get it to 100, because if you can get to 100, that's going to put a crimp on everything.
Yeah.
But not if you're investing and you're long oil. I mean, there's all these leverage deals you can do. that will get you 10 to 1 on your investment. Don't know.
I got a very thoughtful note from the UK. It was now the one thing that is omitted from every single report, which I think was the first thing we talked about, is the name Khashoggi. To old straight white guys like Adam and John, this conjures up one image and one image only of that fantastic yacht Adnan Khashoggi had off of the coast of everywhere. He was the biggest arms dealer and well-respected arms dealer in the world.
Yeah, and he was highlighted on lifestyles of the rich and famous.
And that, of course, he is related. To Jamal Khashoggi. And I got a very thoughtful note from another one of the cousins who's in the UK, and he donated $33.33, and so that's how I got the donation note. And I said, hey, did you donate this to be anonymous, or can I read? He said, no, go ahead and read. His name is Sean, first name only. And I thought this was very interesting. Adam, thanks again for the shows. But I know none of this seems really important, but as it's headlines, good way for us to meet, may be interesting enough for us to have a chat one day or a pint somewhere within this dimension. And then he gives me a little help on pronouncing Khashoggi. He says, he says the Italians have a lot more fun with the Khashoggi name, as they really highlight the cash part of it. The Italians, back in the day with Khashoggi. He says the family yacht, the Nabila, which of course was Adnan's yacht, he sold and later sold to the Sultan of Brunei, was also owned by Donald Trump, lest we forget. Remember that? Trump bought his yacht, that huge yacht. He never spent the $3 million needed just to change the logo. It stayed in Nabilia. Prince Walid took the yacht and then changed it appropriately. But he said, I've been in the headlines all my life. My mom's divorce, my dad's trials, my cousin's deaths. When we were on trial with Imelda Marcos in New York, the U.S. pronounced our name the same way as they do today. It's just wrong. I've had lots of positive experiences in the past with Donald Trump. Remember, this is a Khashoggi family member. He was always kind and good to me. Although my dad did make Marla Maples cry one time during dinner because Donald Trump would always say, oh, man, I want to be like Adnan. He's got 2 wives. She burst into tears. So now I have 2 cousins that have gone out with a bang, Jamal and Dodi. I'm like, what, Dodi? Dodi Al-Fayed? Yes, Dodi Al-Fayed.
That's interesting.
Who was his mom? A Khashoggi. His mom was a Khashoggi. So these are 2 of his cousins. You see, yeah, they've both gone out with a bang. I'm certain Donald Trump asked his team, wait a minute, was that one of Adnan's sons? But notice the mainstream press keeps his name out of the picture. He's had an intense past, and they want to use Jamal for reasons you and John know better than I do. I was in Saudi Arabia the day before all the Ritz-Carlton arrests. What was that again, John? Was that a big thing that happened?
Yeah, don't you remember? We talked about it excessively on the show. This is when Mr. Bonesaw decided to round up 400 of the family members who were all billionaires in their own right from all kinds of dealings overseas and lock them up in the Ritz-Carlton as a kind of a ersatz prison, and grilled each and every one of them to find out who was like a traitor or whatever. And then they apparently coughed up a lot of money to get out, each one of them.
Yes.
And then he released them all eventually.
So our producer, cousin Sean, says it's been pretty intense since that day. And now the Khashoggis amongst ourselves joke by saying, they're killing all the Khashoggis. This is a great note. I really don't think MBS realized the weight of our name, so my prediction is he will step aside very soon. Look how the world is pulling away. But one of my brothers thinks that won't happen, so I guess the bets are on. Thanks again for reading for a small work of we. Okay, thank you very much. So I've asked him a few more questions, and he will follow up. He seems to be very responsive. So this is interesting. This is the Khashoggis themselves seem to be on the elimination.
Freaked out.
Yeah, they're not very happy, and they're being eliminated. So, and
that brings us back to the mob analogy. It's like a mafia operation in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And it's all these family members, and the family, of course, is the family. If you think about it, it's with the mafia.
But if the mainstream, certainly, the MSNBC, CNNs of the world, if they did a little bit of research, they could have a field day with this. Well, Trump bought Khashoggi's boat, but they won't, because they're desperately protecting Jamal Khashoggi's image of this freedom fighter who lived among us and wrote for Wappa 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 Wappa. Therefore, he must have been great. But he was at the very best a double agent. He was spying on everybody, bringing notes back and forth. There's a lot of evidence of that. Did you read that article, Tinker Tailor, Journalist Spy?
You put a link in the show notes. People should read that. And there's also the PJ Media article, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff out there if you want to look for it. But it's all in alternative outlets. I mean, the mainstream just doesn't want to touch it. And they could have a field day with the yacht itself and the Adnan
just
connection. They don't even
yacht.
want to mention. It's just they always mention Adnan in passing as though it's not really any connection.
Yeah, right. And being able to tie Dodi into it. I mean, it's perfect. They eliminated him too, didn't they? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea of it being just pure oil speculation. That's a really good one because, that's the simple one. A bunch of guys come up with some plan, and then they just wait for a catalyst, and here it is. Some guy got killed. Screw him. Or maybe they've been lying in wait to undermine this Saudi deal. And why the hell are we still doing? Oh yeah, it's not even for the oil, probably. I guess I know we have a lot of oil. It doesn't seem like we have the infrastructure in place to replace whatever we're getting right now quickly. But okay. But ultimately, it's to screw something up.
That would be my guess. It's to screw something up.
And if they were doing it for the midterms, it makes no sense. Way too late to do that. And
no. If you remember the show that, and people should always watch this, the 13 episodes and then pulled off the air, Rubicon series.
Yeah.
It was pretty much people in the background conniving to screw things up so they could make money. That's all it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how many people don't care who dies as long as they can make money. It's very surprising.
Yeah.
There's that. Now, the arms sale, for sure, we can't let the arms sales go to Russia. That would just make no sense. So we have to keep that deal, I would think.
Well, Trump is doing the best he can to keep the deal. I was thinking about this. What difference does it make, the politics between countries and the deals between companies and countries? Shouldn't they be separate? I mean, Trump is not the one that's getting the commission for the deal. He's not working for Boeing. He's not working for Lockheed. He is. I mean,
he literally is.
But only as a kind of a front man representing the country.
Sales guy.
But he's not really a true sales guy because he's not getting a piece of it. He doesn't get his 10% commission. He doesn't get, anything. He doesn't even have tchotchkes to hand out that I know of. But
okay.
But so why can't we just say, okay, we now officially we stop doing it, but we stop liking the Saudis officially as our government, but Boeing still likes them and they can sell these things, and we're not going to stop that from going through.
That's not true. That's not true because every single sale has to be approved, and I believe some of these above a certain amount have to go through a governmental approval process, which is not just the president. We've seen those bills.
Why would our own government queer the deal?
Oh my God!
Hurt the economy
because we got a bunch of jackasses running the country. That's why. Who has the money? The reason why someone calls a guy MBS is because they're sucking him. They love MBS. He's shooting money everywhere. He's jizzing over everybody. Same with the Chinese. They're giving money to everybody. So they're against anything that would hurt their friends. So, this guy, I don't know. Is he good? Is he bad? Let me look at my money. Well, There's too many parties at play here.
You just contradicted the thesis you started with.
Well, yes and no, because that's why I said there's two sides. There's the sides that desperately want to protect our sovereignty, and the side that doesn't, who have to be anti-American. If you screw up the Saudi deal, now it may be very important for some people to have the Israel-Palestine thing happen, which I don't know if that's even actually a realm of possibility. But I think there's a lot of people who want to help Iran and Russia and China. Maybe not Russia, but China for sure, and Iran. We had a whole administration doing that just a couple years ago.
Enemy within.
Yes. Now you're talking.
Now let's play this last bit here, which starts with one thing, and it actually segues out to we can talk about something else. The hectic rap, CBS of Saudi, plus other interesting tidbits, which actually are interesting.
Against Saudi Arabia, but remains reluctant to cancel a U.S. arms deal with the Saudis. President Trump in Nevada today said he's considering sanctions against Saudi Arabia, but remains reluctant to cancel a U.S. arms deal with the Saudis. Here's Errol Barnett.
I'm not satisfied until we find the answer, but it was a big first step. It was a good first step.
Before boarding Air Force One in Nevada today, President Trump responded to Saudi Arabia's confirmation of Jamal Khashoggi's death, expressing hesitation to terminate a new $110 billion arms deal.
I think it's over 1 million jobs. That's not helpful for us to cancel an order like that. That hurts us far more than it hurts them.
The president says he would like to speak to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, a man Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said was toxic and a wrecking ball. Congress will be involved in crafting a response to the Khashoggi killing, with senior Republicans suggesting the expulsion of Saudi diplomats, targeted sanctions, or curtailing any future arms sales.
The Democrats want to throw open your borders to deadly drugs and gangs.
This week, the president has been out west holding rallies in support of Republican candidates fighting close midterm races.
Let's take back the Senate, and we will change the world as we know it.
Also in Nevada today is former Vice President Joe Biden supporting Democratic candidates and fueling speculation of a potential 2020 presidential run.
It's a conscious effort to divide the country, but we can't let it work again.
President Trump also announced today he is withdrawing the U.S. from a nuclear treaty with Russia, which dates back to the Reagan administration and the Soviet Union. A national security spokesperson telling CBS News Russia continues to produce prohibited cruise missiles. All this as the president's national security advisor, John Bolton, heads to Moscow.
A lot of stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, at least they're doing stuff. Certainly doing stuff.
Yeah.
Last night, Tina and I were invited by, and you'll appreciate this, the former New York banker's wife, so the network expands, to a actually pretty cool benefit for the...
Beto.
Well, for the Contemporary Museum in Austin. It's actually very famous, Laguna Gloria, which is this beautiful house, and they've got their art in there, and it's got sculptures, and it's a very poo-poo, pa-pa-pa-pa thing here in Austin. And I believe she's on the board. No, I'm sure she's on the board, but she's also a Beto supporter, and there were lots of Beto shirts, although everyone was dressed up all spiffy and nice. And they had TPs.
The elites for Beto.
And so we met this couple, and kind of like young, I'd say mid-30s, and he was very quiet, kind of cucky soy boy. She was, she had long skirt on and a nice jacket, but underneath a big "Vote Beto," and she introduced herself as the. I guess the regional or the Austin manager for the Beto campaign. I'm like, oh, hey, that's great. So how's our boy doing there? How's Robert Francis doing?
That you'd like to collect some signage?
Oh, I forgot, John. Because it's not me, it's you. I forgot. I can get anything I want though, if you want. But you want the curtains. You want the Beto curtains.
Curtains?
Yeah, there's curtains. There's Beto curtains that people are hanging up in their windows. Actual curtains.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good, huh? Yeah. I'll get you one of those. So and I have to say, both Tina and I, we slip right into it. Oh, wow, that's great. How's he doing? Like we care. Like I'm very
agent provocateur.
No, I said we're big phonies. I was very impressed with the keeper. She's right in there. She's like, are they gonna prop him up like Obama? And which I thought was a risque question, but the way she said it.
What did you said that?
No, Tina said it.
Are they going to prop him up like Obama?
But she said it in exactly the right way that it sounded like she was a politico. Because I thought, wow, that's aggressive. Careful what you say. They'll be on to us
and kick you out.
And they went, no, oh yeah, well, we all really, and this is insider stuff now because she was whispering. We all really think that he would be great for a 2020 run, but he did promise that if he was elected, he would stay on for 6 years. And I went, yeah, right. Wink, wink. She said, yeah, we're very excited. And so,
the guy's a goofball.
Well,
he's not presentable.
Well, here's what I noticed. So now remember, she's selling, but she presumes I'm all Beto because I'm there. I'm on the grounds.
Why else would you be there?
She expects me to be all Beto all the time. And
the arts community, thank you very much.
Yes, and a couple of things, the way she said it, and of course I wasn't clandestinely recording, I should consider that.
You should. Wear a wire.
Yeah, so I'm like, she said Beto, and I said, oh yeah, Beto. I said, yeah, I've gotten, my friends have kicked my ass because I said Beto. He said, well, his name is Robert. Yeah, Robert Francis. Yeah, I know Robert Francis. Yeah, but and then she went into this almost like apologetic mode. Well, a lot of people, they all have Hispanic in their blood in San Antonio, and Beto, it's what everyone has the Beto nickname. It's not like he's not trying to appropriate any culture or anything. And I didn't ask her about that. I know. And then, so that was one. Then the second one, I was like, is he going to make it? Now, at this point, we're walking past another TP where there's people laying on blankets and completely chilled out.
Wait. Another what, TP?
Yeah, I told you there was teepees. This is like an outdoor thing. With
there were you didn't. I didn't. You may have said something.
Yeah, you didn't understand.
Hear it.
It's all outdoors with campfires.
So outdoors outside the museum on the grounds.
Yes, with all the sculptures.
Teepees.
Yes,
like Indian teepees from one of the tribes that they've appropriated.
Culturally appropriated. Are you catching on?
Holy mackerel! That's disgusting.
It's fantastic, but to make it even better, the food was supplied by the top restaurants in Austin. Like Le Politique, and the chefs were there. So I had a great time talking to chefs and eating some of the free food, but, all under teepees, which is just a beautiful contradiction of everything. So as we're walking past the s'mores station, there's another little teepee, and people are laid out, and there's a lady doing the singing bowls. You familiar with this? We have a crystal bowl, and then
you rim them.
You rim them with a vibrator. And they start to sing. So now, we're walking past that. She's, if the blacks in this,
it's magical.
No, she lowers her voice, and I said, "Oh, how's he doing? How's he going to win?" Well, if the blacks and the Hispanics come out, he will. Otherwise, it'll go to Cruz. And I just thought, just the way she said it, it was like, just if only the blacks and the Hispanics will come out, then he'll win. Which I think means he's going to lose for sure, and they know it.
Oh, of course they do. This is like the dance party on the Titanic you were at.
But it also kind of sounded like she was, I don't know. I don't want to say it sounded racist, but it felt a little bit like that, Not because she didn't say African Americans. I'm fine with blacks. But the way if the blacks and the Hispanics come out, then he'll win. But so it sounds like he's got a great. He's really
those lazy bastards aren't coming out.
Those lazy bastards aren't going to come out. So Beto's a definite loss, and the only other thing I found of great interest is now the former New York banker's wife. She is in charge of what I will call what she herself calls the Austin Welcoming Committee for newcomers, and she does a party.
So she hated it there.
And she does a party every year for the newcomers, which have mainly been from California. And she just had another one. She said, Adam, we had 50 people, and there was only one from California. She said, but get this, most of them were from New York, and they're setting up hedge funds in Austin. This is going to be such a great place to live. And she said there were 3 people in media, 3 television media people who have moved here. So something is up here. Something is changing rapidly. We're getting the douchebag hedge fund guys. We've got all the California techie douches. This is going to be fantastic.
Huh. Well, I mean, you got to buy some raw land or something.
There's nothing of it's nothing's affordable here. I don't have any money. Buy raw land, raw. So anyway, that's a little report. And I've met some new people, so hopefully I'll get invited to something Beto related.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Or the Hillary 2020 campaign when she's ready. Hopefully I'll get invited to that again.
Definitely will happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You got to get involved with both the Hillary side and the side that hates Hillary, because other Democrats, they know Hillary can't win.
Yeah, but they're not here. There's no Hillary haters in Austin, Texas.
And they're going to have who else is going to run besides Hillary? Besides Biden?
Nah, Biden
won't hold there in Austin.
You think he'll actually run?
He wants to.
Yeah, no, and anyone could walk in. Anyone with the right story at the right moment could walk in. This is what, Ocasio-Cortez is, it's too early for her. She can't pop on this right now. She's just got to make sure she gets into New York. She could be interesting 2020, but no one is really.
No, she's an idiot.
Hello,
she is so dumb.
Hello, it doesn't matter. Come on, Trump is dumb. We all know that. He's stupid.
Yeah. The billionaire, he had Khashoggi's yacht. I forgot about that. He's got no money, but he's got this yacht. How did he do that?
I think he sold the yacht on, so he doesn't have it anymore.
Probably made money on the deal.
Oh, of course he did. Yeah. The only time he ever lost money was in aviation, and that's easy.
No, he lost money in the casino.
Oh, the casino. Casino.
Had to declare bankruptcy that operation. But that's because he wasn't mobbed up enough, or he wasn't mobbed up with the right mob members. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a business that looks like a no-brainer until you get into it.
So now, just as a part of all this, and I'll just take us in a 2-clip different direction. So while we're talking about Mohammed bin Salman,
Mr. Bonesaws,
Mr. Bonesaw, MBS, if you remember 1 year ago, we were talking about the apparent fact that the Las Vegas massacre might have been an actual attack on the prince, who was apparently in Vegas at the time.
Well, they were shooting at the wrong place if it was an attack on the prince.
Well, there was shooting at other hotels, if you remember. There was all kinds of reports of shooting at all other places.
You never got a good report on this. Whole thing was a scam, and then of course I still believe it was more of an ISIS event, because they took credit for it.
Several times.
Yeah, and they don't take credit for stuff they don't do. There's been plenty of things they haven't taken credit for that happened.
So there was another final report, which I'm sure is not final, that came out. And I got 2 clips from One America News with some guy from, I'm sure he's some pro-gun lobby group. And he went through the final and compared it to some other finals. And he said he has a number of things that have not been explained or possibly properly investigated. And I have 2 clips. Here's the first one that he feels warrants more investigation or more information to the public.
In the official police report, the final report that just came out, they stated that no evidence exists to indicate Paddock conspired with or acted in collusion with anyone else. Right. No evidence exists. That's their claim. Now, at 9:20 p.m., this is when this TSA woman observed this to take place. She gives a very nicely detailed report. She describes 2 women at the back of the concert. The 2 women are standing on top of the bale of hay, and where they have a good vantage point to look down on the backs of the crowd facing towards the performer. The first woman says, "Those stupid effing white people, they are going to know how it feels. They deserve this. Wait until later." And this is about a half hour before the shooting begins. The second woman, "Woohoo! Like shooting fish in a barrel. Are you getting this, baby? I love you." Now, the woman that says, "Are you getting this, baby?" is standing with her phone, live streaming from the back of the concert what's going on. Now, while that is not conclusive proof, it's decidedly suspicious and has not been followed up on.
Yeah, I remember that report about the lady streaming something in the background. I think it gives us a good ISO.
Woohoo! Like shooting fish in a barrel. Are you getting this, baby? I love you.
What do you think?
It's a good ISO.
It's kind of gruesome, but
yeah, I like it.
It's doable. Then the
that report seemed sketchy to me, and the whole thing, and then it wasn't followed up on for good reason. The person's gone.
Well,
how do you follow up on it on anything like that?
So this guy's premise is the official report says he acted alone, no one else was involved. There is the issue of the deadbolt.
So at 21:36, he throws the deadbolt to 32135. Now this is very important. 10 minutes go by. In the middle of those 10 minutes, the concert begins. Now, as we've discussed before, these were connecting rooms. 32135 and 32134 were connecting with an interior door. So the 135 door was not opened. Precisely 10 minutes later, the deadbolt was thrown to 134. So that's from the inside.
And by the way, they have these records, so that they have the electronic records, the door records, so it shows what time, what deadbolts were thrown in which rooms.
So that is.
Are there electronic? I don't know, but I'm wondering. I've seen those. I've had two suites or two rooms, adjoining rooms with the thing in the middle, the dead. I don't know that that particular door has a mechanism on it that records the opening and closing of it.
No, they do have a record of the regular lock and the deadbolt lock. According to the FBI report, they have that. They received it, and that's the information.
That's to the hall, though.
Nope. It's also the internal door because it's two separate rooms. That's why they have a record of it. Even though they're connected, you can lock them.
I know you can lock it because there's a door with a lock on it, but...
Well, you're arguing something we can't argue about because that's the FBI's record, not this guy.
Okay, go on.
So that's from the inside. So that is absolute conclusive proof with no doubt whatsoever, because 32135 was not opened again. That interior door was used to throw the deadbolt on 134, or there was a second person in there to do it. There is no other way. So that interior door, fast forward a half hour or so after the shooting, Paddock's dead. The police breach the door to 32135, find Paddock's dead body. They themselves, the police, could not get into 134. They tried to kick through the door, couldn't do it, and had to breach the door so that they could enter 134. That deadbolt on the passage door between the two rooms was deadbolted from the 134 side. Now, we know that prior to the shooting, that door either had to be opened so that Paddock could go through and lock the 134 door to the hallway, or somebody else was in that room. It has to be one of the two.
Sounds confusing to me.
Well, we don't buy any of it, so it's not confusing at all.
No. Well, you know what I mean.
Now, where was MBS?
He was at. I want to say I don't remember which hotel he was at, but they were shooting also.
But he wasn't at this hotel.
No, but there was also reports of shots fired in other hotels. I mean, there's so much information.
Well, how about
we
this
have no idea
for the scheme? You got these. Actually, I'm not even going to throw this theory out there because I still think ISIS idea was good. It was solid.
Yeah,
they took credit for it.
It was
a terrorist attack.
The full theory was that Paddock was going to sell these weapons to ISIS. It was a sting. He was working with the feds, and it went bad. And these guys decided not to buy the guns, but to kill this guy and then shoot all the people at the concert from the window, and then split. That was, I think, our full thesis. And then ISIS claimed it 3-4 times.
Yeah. Now, the other possibility, of course, if this had anything to do with the MBS, was that this was done as a distraction because it would get all police resources and everything out of the way.
That, yes.
And then they could go after MBS, who may have gotten wind of it, or he wasn't where they expected to be, or he had a double, who knows what.
If you got guys that'll go in and chop a guy up to take him out in bits and pieces, I'm sure they don't have much problem in killing a whole bunch of whiteys so that they can go get the prince if they need to, just as a distraction.
Yeah.
But for sure, the truth is being withheld.
Well, they don't even want to speculate.
No.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
I mean, even the talking heads on CNN don't talk about anything. They just, they do. They talk about Trump. It's ridiculous. So, okay. Well, onward.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had a stupid CNN clip of them going Trump.
No, but I should. There is that clip that's going around, which I have yet to clip. I should have clipped it, which is you can find it. It's the Trump on all this with the date timeline at the upper right-hand side. And it's Trump's going to be impeached. Trump's going to quit tomorrow. Trump's going to do this. Trump's going to quit.
Oh, wait. Did we talk to each other in our dreams last night?
Donald Trump's done.
Of course.
He's done. There's
Stop the clip. We started at the beginning. I have to mention, because you don't see this. This is a series of just pronouncements by CNN, MSNBC, and all these other networks.
And Fox as well. Fox is in there too. Yeah.
And the thing that's interesting, it starts when he's elected. There's a little timestamp in the upper right-hand corner showing the date of these comments. And it starts like in 2016 and goes right through 2017, all of 2017, and goes into 2018, and it's in chronological order.
It is.
So you're hearing this. In other words, we've been hearing this for the last 2 years.
Donald Trump's done. He's done. There's no question about that. He's done.
Breaking news.
A bombshell.
Today is a turning point. Today was historically bad for President Trump.
Today was a turning point.
A turning point. We're at a turning point here.
The beginning of the end.
I also like how it shows you the talking points and how the headlines continuously become the same. Everyone uses the same bombshell, turning point, tipping point. It's over. He's done.
End for the Trump presidency.
The beginning of the end.
And breaking news.
We have another bombshell.
Mike Pence might have to assume the office of the presidency.
The call for impeachment.
Rumblings of the word impeachment.
We're still in 2016, I think, here.
Breaking news.
Another bombshell out of the White House.
I believe this is the beginning of the end.
I do too.
It's really the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
He may be feeling the walls closing in on him.
All the walls closing in on him.
The walls closing in on him.
Breaking news, a new bombshell.
One astrologer says this means the beginning of the end for President Donald Trump.
The beginning of the end of the Trump presidency.
Trump will resign.
Trump is going to resign.
Is this the tipping point? I know we've said it over and over.
You think this is a tipping point?
And over and over.
This is a tipping point.
And over and over.
Breaking news, President Trump off the rails.
It was the beginning of the end today.
It's the beginning of the end.
It reminds me a lot of the last days of Nixon.
Breaking news tonight, new bombshell.
This is the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable. Have you ever seen anything like this?
His presidency is crippled.
December 1st, 2017, you can mark it down. This is the day that everything changed.
We begin with the bombshell.
The beginning of the end?
The beginning of the end.
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 In fact, if this were a football game, we're in the third quarter. May even be the beginning of the end.
We begin tonight with the bombshell.
Donald Trump is in a lot of trouble.
Trump is in trouble.
The president will resign.
Another hour, another bombshell.
This is a tipping point.
Trump's going down.
This president could be impeached.
I do not think the president will serve out his term. Resignation. I don't think this president is going to serve out his term. Mr. Trump will not serve out his term.
He will not serve out his term.
No way, no how. Breaking news.
Absolute bombshell.
I think Donald Trump is in trouble.
Donald Trump is not. He's done. And it's over. It's over.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in.
This is going to be the Achilles heel.
Breaking news tonight. I expect Trump to depart. This week will be the watershed week. Trump is in big trouble.
Trump's in a lot of trouble.
It's a sign of a terrified old man who feels the
walls
closing in.
The walls
are increasingly
closing in on him.
Tonight, the walls
are closing in.
Today changed everything. This is the beginning of the end.
Today, the biggest
tipping point for the Trump administration.
What a historic day. The bombshells, they fell.
It's entropy and it's crumbling internally.
He's underwater. He feels the walls closing in.
Could his testimony be a turning point?
We may be at a tipping point.
It's the beginning of
The end.
The beginning
of the end.
Another bombshell.
Bombshell. Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
This is a bombshell. It is a bombshell.
I am beginning to resent the word bombshell.
Woohoo! All credit to Super Deluxe Supercuts, link in the show notes at nashownotes.com.
Yeah, they did good work.
That's fantastic piece of work. And it's interesting that we both clearly liked it. I had time. I clipped it. It was long. It was 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But
3 minutes of how hilarious. Hilarity. Now, the funny thing is they got so bored because there was so much material that near the end they started to
chopping it up.
Chopping it up so one person said the and then the next person beginning of the end.
Yeah. But that's what you've been subjected to for the past 2 years. Everybody. Worldwide, by the way.
Yeah.
You could have easily thrown in some German, some Dutch, some British. It would have been very easy.
And 10 minutes.
And let me tell you, none of that is healthy if you're exposed to that. I mean, I think I actually grew some cooties just from listening to it.
Well, you don't. It's not how it works, but okay.
I grow them. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for Curtains for Beto Dvorak.
I could use some curtains for Beto. Well, in the morning, you and Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, ships and sea boots and the graphene and the air subs and the world, all the dames and nights out there.
And in the morning, to the troll room. Very helpful today, trolls. Thank you. You're behaving well, as trolls should. NoAgendaStream.com. That's where you can listen to the show live every single Sunday and Thursday morning. And hang out in the troll room and make stupid comments, and sometimes they're good. Also in the morning to, let me see, it was Mike Riley. Mike, a pro, brought us the artwork, the album artwork for episode 1078. Title of that was Demonation. And this was he did a couple of versions, actually. Just a beautiful piece of Mr. Bonesaw. His own representation of MBS.
Mr. Bonesaw.
Yeah.
Mr. Bonesaw.
Hey, everybody, it's Mr. Bonesaw. He's got his little Bonesaw walking around, tipping his hat at everybody. It was a great piece. And we found that on noagendaartgenerator.com, another fine value network resource that we have running. You should support that site if you take a look at it. I think Paul runs it.
Paul wants somebody to take it over.
Yeah, any kind of help he would appreciate. There's a whole note at the homepage of noagendaartgenerator.com.
He has real work to do.
Yeah. So, and there's, what have we counted now? There's 30,000 pieces of art in that generator, and we have 80 copies. I made one call, man. We had 13-year-old producers who were developers coming up with scripts and that run every day, and we have Amazon cold storage buckets, all kinds of places where this site has been archived. So I feel pretty safe that it'll be around after we're long gone.
At least the art will be.
Yes, the art will be. And it's really appreciated. Thank you, Mike Riley, and everybody who always puts in some great work and effort to make our art fantastic and really stand out. And it does help with people listening to the show and discovering it, because it's one of the few podcasts that updates in the list. You see different art, and it's not just someone's head. I swear to God, go look at the iTunes store or any podcast app store. Most of them tie into iTunes directory anyway, and you'll see like most album artwork is people's heads. It's not interesting.
No, it's not interesting at all. But there's somebody out there that thinks it's a good idea, or they wouldn't do it.
No, I think they're just not. It's one of those things that starts as a culture and never really changes. But we broke the mold. I'm very proud of it. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Thank you very much. And we also have people who support us with monetary contributions. We'd like to thank our top donors for each episode right at the beginning of the show. And just like Hollywood, where we thank our executive and associate executive producers, John has our list for today.
You have it. You have a copy.
Yeah, but this is a professional handover, which you just made very unprofessional.
Oh. Well, we do want to thank a few people for show 1079, with Mike Keeler starting off and being the head of the list with $334.33. And he beats out William Messing by $1. At $1, actually 99 cents because there's a
$1. Yeah, 99 cents. You're right.
99 cents. Mike writes in, thanks for the excellent work. Some karma would be totally bitchin'.
All right, Mike, here you go. We got some bitchin' karma.
You've got karma.
William Messing, $334.34. Please credit this executive producer donation to William Messing, a lifelong buddy of mine who is turning the big 50 on Monday, the 22nd. I hit Bill in the mouth probably about a year ago. He has at least one executive producer credit to his name, so this one will go toward his eventual knighthood. Unfortunately, Bill's hometown is entrenched deep in Dimension B, so for a jingle request, I'm hoping you can fire up the transporter to get him back to Dimension A with Sparky the dog. Turning 50 karma would help too. Happy birthday, Bill. Thank you for your courage. That's Chris.
Ready? All right, here we go. Bring him back into Dimension A. Stand by. You might get dizzy. If you feel nauseous, just look at the ground. It will all go away.
First America. First America. First America.
We choose love. Fuck you.
You've got karma.
And that was orchestrated by Sir Chris of the Carmel by the Sea.
Yes.
Onward to, and William Messing by was 333.34, and Mike was 334.33. I don't know. I find that to be highly amusing. Dale Norman is our associate executive producers from Shearville, Indiana. $200.01. This is a birthday donation for fellow knight and IT expert Sir Pufunk of the Trolls. See if he's on the list. From his friends over at the second best podcast in the universe. Wasn't this from last week's show?
Yeah, but he had a clip that he wanted me to play, and I'm pretty sure the clip came through again. But it wasn't from Dale. It was from someone else, I thought, because he sent it. Oh, crap.
Okay, well, let me just finish reading this while you
I'm looking for
to yourself. The Netflix Explorers podcast, his birthday is tomorrow, October 22nd. So this is pretty new, obviously. We wouldn't say that. And although he is an IT extraordinaire, he somehow botched the attempt to send the clips for my birthday on show 1077. There is the information. So, Sir Pufunk, here's how to properly attach an MP3. You're welcome. So this is apparently Rusty. This is Love, Rusty, and Sopat.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently Rusty sent in the...
Rusty sent it?
Well, that's what I'm guessing because it says Love, Rusty, and Sopot, O-S-O-P-O-T. So I will say this. You're not going to find this thing.
Here, I got something. Yes, I do. I found one. Let me just save it. Crazy how that works.
And, well, I would have had more trouble with squirrel mail, so you have a more superior system.
This is all, it's a lot of work for something very small.
Whoa! Society 5!
Was it?
Yeah, I'm glad we did that.
Oh, God.
I'll do it one more time with a karma.
Whoa! Society 5!
You've got karma.
Okay, we fulfilled it.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, and he's on the list.
Thank you for all the hard work. Mike Harrington, Grand Canyon, Arizona. Nice spot. $200. First off, I'm in need of a de-douching.
Yeah, we can do that. Hello,
You've been de-douched.
He hasn't donated for 5 months. No agenda helps keep me sane, and I'm therefore obligated to make a return to the tremendous value I receive twice weekly. Keep up the great work. I recently returned to work at Grand Canyon after spending the summer hazing grizzly bears in Glacial National Park. Since I've gone back to cleaning the composting, the composting toilets in the inner canyon, I humbly request that my knighthood name be changed from Sir Backcountry Ranger to Sir Compost Ranger. If you want to put that on title changes, it might be good. Because you do have to do the Dame Bang Bang title change still.
Oh my goodness! Yes, you're right. So I need. Hold on. Let's do this for a second. Let's do this properly. So because I have no title changes listed actually. So because I forgot Dame Bang Bang titles, and she becomes Do you remember what she became?
No.
Name Bang Bang Baroness something. I think it was just Baroness Bang Bang.
No, it was something else.
Okay. And this is a change from who to who? This is from
Sir Backcountry Ranger to Sir Compost Ranger.
Sir Compost Ranger. Okay.
He says, I'm proud to stir shit and suspect Mike Rowe would be proud of me too. I just started reading The State of Fear by Michael Crichton, and this will be the third book recommendation I've taken from the show, the others being Snow Crash and The Creature from Jekyll Island, in addition to Professor Ted's essay, Industrial Society and Its Future. Thank you. I cooked wild huckleberry preserves in Glacier while listening to No Agenda, an excellent example of multitasking, and will mail a jar to each of you on Monday. Please note that these are preserves and not jams, meaning they are vacuum sealed and good for up to 2 years, but must be refrigerated after opening. Enjoy. I request a jobs karma for all Reverend L. Mumbling Sigonoy Weaver and an obscure clip from spring of 2017, I believe, of Bill Nye singing with some lady about butt stuff on that crazy show he has or had on Netflix or whatever. He's not going to find that, but we'll look for it.
What was this? Let me see.
The Garden of Eden was in Missouri.
No. Yeah. Let me see if I have the right Sharpton.
Tonight is the measure of whether the country begins in the state of Wisconsin a national drive to push back, or whether we have more to go to build a movement of resistance. But
no, that's not it. I know which one he's talking, but I mean,
yeah. So when it has all the names, he does a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, but was that versus the teleprompter? It's maybe so hard to know which one that is.
Resist, we must. They're all jitty about a shutdown. The tortoise in the race. Then co-author of Hubris. U2 lead singer Bono. Fran Drescher. Sigourney Weaver. Suspect Jahar Tsarnaev. Rush Limbaugh. The show Rush Lombard hosts Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
I'll play the full thing. End of show.
This is off. This is the last. I know it says Warren, Michigan. That's where it's from. It's John Bolsowich in Warren, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
$200, and he says, "I'm letting you know that karma for my daughter came through. She got a full-time job in her field. I have met a real nice girl, and it's really hit a rough spot. She's a rough patch. She's a real keeper, and I hope that things work out between us. Her work has been really crazy lately and putting a lot of stress on her. Then I told her how I feel about her, and that put more stress on her. So I'm requesting some relationship karma for us. Thanks for the greatest show in the universe."
You betcha. Here's some. What? Why are you laughing?
Well, because it's the best podcast in the universe, but I always like the variations always crack me up.
You've got karma.
Okay.
Oh, that's it?
That is our group of 5 producers and executive producers and associate executive producers for show 1079. I want to thank them all for helping us get this show off the ground.
And as the veterans know, these are real credits that are accepted anywhere credits are recognized. You are now an official executive producer of No Agenda Show episode 1079 or associate executive producer. And we have more producers to thank coming up later in our second donation segment. And a reminder that Thursday, is it this Thursday or is it finally Thursday?
Yes, coming Thursday is the anniversary show, 11 years of No Agenda.
And they never had a fight.
Dvorak.org/NA.
So remember that as you go out and propagate your formula, it is our 11th anniversary.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Woohoo!
Shut up, slave.
So it was the big march. The big march in London yesterday. The Evening Standard newspaper had pre-printed signs, full page. All you had to do was put them on a piece of cardboard. Everybody was all in. Everyone's all ready to redo the Brexit vote, everybody. Not like your best podcast in the universe had not predicted that multiple times. But we had, sadly.
Yes.
And
stay with the prediction. It hasn't happened yet, but it could. It's plenty of time.
This was the march to say we deserve another vote. We deserve a do-over.
Yes, we really hate our country. We hate our borders. We want to be run by the Belgians.
Yes.
We surrender to the German Empire.
One of our
I don't want to get any more notes from these guys. And well, you said the German Empire is a better thing.
Well, that's actually what people are saying in the UK. One of our producers there said, a lot of friends of mine went and protested as well. And I said, why do you want someone in Belgium to run your country and tell you what to do? And the answer is almost universally, well, at least it'll be better than the people who are doing nothing for us now, which is kind of a frightening concept.
Well, they are doing nothing because they're doing nothing for the obvious reason. They've already given themselves over to Belgium. They're trying to get their sovereignty back, which they're not going to manage from the looks of it. And so the logic is, it's not logical what that answer is.
No,
they're already turned it over to Belgium, so it's not like they're doing nothing.
No, it's not logical.
They've given it over to. Okay, here I do have one clip: the Belgian protest Brexit do-over.
Where is it? Belgian.
London protest Brexit do-over.
Okay.
Tens of thousands of activists gathered in central London today to demand a new nationwide referendum on Brexit. Nearly 150 buses brought protesters to the capital from all over the country to take part in the demonstrations. Britain is scheduled to leave the European Union on March 29th. Heated government negotiations on Brexit have been taking place ever since a 2016 referendum. Conservative Party Prime Minister Theresa May has so far ruled out another public vote on Brexit.
You really got to make sure you don't get your Windows sounds in your recordings. It's happened a lot in the past couple of weeks.
This is going to happen probably not a lot, but it's going to happen every so often. I find it amusing. I can go back and reclip that, but what I've changed my methodology for getting my clips.
Yeah, that's clear.
And so as I'm dicking around looking for the next clip, I'll click on something, and then I'll get this error sound for no apparent reason. That Windows likes to make that noise all the time.
Well, if you open up your Windows mixer, you can.
I know how to turn it off.
But you find it amusing. Yet I have for years done my best to make sure none of those sounds enter the recordings. Okay.
I'm not I don't have a stick up my ass about it, so it doesn't bother me so much.
I don't have a stick up my ass about it either. I'm just saying a little professionalism would go a long way here.
Well, I've never believed in that.
Theresa May, apparently in the killing zone. I think she's out. She's done. This is it. This was all kind of, a part of
which gives us enough time, because March is still a long ways away, to do that redo and then just queer the deal and just give up sovereignty and become just part of Belgium.
And who will become the PM though? That we need a new prime minister. You can't have Theresa May with a do-over on the vote. She has to leave. She's gonna. The word is she'll be out within 3 days.
I didn't hear this.
I have had Daily Mail. Come on, the Daily Mail. Daily Mail.
You might as well play that 3 minutes of Trump stuff again.
Theresa May is in the killing zone. Prime Minister has warned she has 72 hours to save her job.
Yeah, bullshit.
They move pretty quickly there in the UKs. When they hate you, then you can be out pretty fast.
Okay, so you're saying you want to put money? Well, we're not going to put money on, but we could make a gentleman's agreement bet that by next Thursday she's done. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's what the Daily Mail is saying.
Oh, okay.
But I think she'll be out. She has nothing to show for it. Everyone hates her.
Everyone hates her. Oh, good.
Yeah. Or maybe she needs a health emergency. Something has to happen. Something's got to give. And I guess it'll be between Bojo, Boris Johnson, or maybe even
Well, that's assuming Labor doesn't take over.
Sadiq Khan would be prime minister. Is that what everyone's pushing for? That would be great.
That guy would never get there.
They've lost their marbles there, man.
They have.
They've lost their marbles. They are actually voting for other countries to take care of them.
They've lost their marbles.
The great British Empire, ladies and gentlemen. It's unbelievable. And it's just because they've been lied to. People in England, most don't understand. They haven't figured it out yet, but you're really on the short end of this stick.
Well, they'll find out eventually.
Do you have any more Brexit? I got one.
Somebody, I have a comment. Somebody sent me a note or a tweet about this, and they said, well, it's like, was nothing that wrong. I wish I should go get the tweet. There's nothing that, because I'm bitching about this being this globalist movement. There's nothing wrong with globalism when you don't have, it's safer. You had the 2 world wars, were led to this, and we need to have globalism, something like that.
Globalism is what brings you periodic wars, you morons.
That is the problem, because we were in a globalist movement in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
It brought no borders, no nothing, and that's why these guys, this assassin could go over and shoot Prince Ferdinand. There was nothing to stop him from going there. There was no borders.
I have an idea. Let's give them Beto. You guys can have Beto. He'll be great. Here's Michael Caine, famous actor, award-winning actor. He's a Brexiteer.
So I don't listen to all these pundits. I'm a Brexiteer myself,
Still
my
are?
attitude, oh, yeah, certainly. And
an audible gasp is heard across the country.
Yeah, was this a BBC and the guy was aghast? You still are? Really? How can you still be one?
Isn't that great? What?
Yeah, certainly. And people say, oh, you'll be poor, you'll be this, you'll be that. And I said, well, I'd rather be a poor master of my fate than having someone I don't know making me rich by running it.
Except what some people say is, hang on a second, you still have to do deals around the world. You still have to have relationships with other countries.
The point is we have to do deals around the world. I've finally seen this week a little something of what I've said all along. They said imports, we're going to impose these taxes from Britain, and you go, wait a minute. Has anybody told the boss of Volkswagen or Mercedes about this? And now the German car companies have started to grumble about this tax.
It's a mess. It's a complete and utter mess.
I get the biggest kick out of these Brits who go, "Oh my God, we're going to have to do our own trade deals. We're going to have this is the empire of the Great British, the Great British Empire, which was ruling the world from sunset to sunrise." They said the sun never sets on the British Empire because at any given time the sun was bouncing off of some colony.
Yes, the sun never sets on the empire.
And they had this this was a trading operation, and they were some of the world's greatest businessmen and greatest traders. Yep. And now they're freaked out because they can't do a simple deal to sell some nuts and bolts to somebody, some jam to the United States, some Cadbury's bunnies. I mean, come on.
Some Vauxhall automobiles.
Jeez.
Well, of course, when the Bank of England came in, which is a private bank, that's when it all went downhill. And unless we ever decide to annihilate the Federal Reserve, our fate, as Vladimir Putin probably correctly asserts, will be is bleak at the end of the road. There's no doubt that's how it goes. But the giving into it because of lack of information and complete mind control through your state-run and people-funded media, mind-boggling, I tell you. Mind-boggling. Yeah, it's a mess, but it's not much better anywhere else in Europe. The only and I am on the fence about which way to interpret this. But for a while now, they've been talking about it. It seems like now this may be the last time, or maybe it'll be one more year where we have daylight saving time in the European Union, as there's now a serious discussion in the European Union Parliament to let each of the 28 member states, which used to be known as countries, but now they're member states, to decide their own time. This is now it's either
Hey, we give you guys a lot of freedom.
Right.
We let you decide your own time. I mean, what more do you want?
Yes. So it's either, hey, let's make them think they're really in control of something by letting them decide whether they move their clock or not, or this is the death knell. Chaos is coming. Imagine if everyone in these, if neighbors right next door change when they change the clock, what time it is. It's a engineering nightmare.
Well, the joke is that this is the sort of thing that you'd want the European Union to standardize, not everything else, like how many feathers should be in a pillow.
Exactly. But no, we're going to give you guys power. Here you go. Here you go, member states. Determine your own time, slaves.
Yeah, it's an insult. Does nobody see this?
No. No, they see it as positive. Oh, great. This is the way the EU should work. We have sovereignty over our own clocks. Take this, you peasants. There's no other way to see it. Right?
It's befuddling.
Yeah. No, I know.
All right. What else we got?
I got lots of stuff. I got lots of. Well,
we got Ebola.
Everybody's talking about the bird.
I think we should discuss the Ebola thing.
Okay. I have nothing on Ebola.
You have the jingle.
Oh, yeah. Which jingle do you want?
All right, there's some interesting information. There's little kickers in here. This is the Ebola report, and then we can talk about it.
Well, let me do an Ebola jingle then. This is just a random Ebola jingle.
And in the black trunks, weighing in at over 3,000 troops, the ISIS of virus, the killer from Nigeria, Ebola.
Woo!
Since August, another deadly outbreak of Ebola has been ravaging the Democratic Republic of the Congo, killing dozens. Health workers say new medicines and the development of a vaccine are making the job of treating Ebola easier. However, this outbreak is in the middle of a war zone where a decades-long battle continues. The World Health Organization says the risk that the disease will spread, even to neighboring countries, is very high. NewsHour Weekend special correspondent Benedict Moran and video journalist Jorgen Samso have this report from the town of Beni. A warning, viewers might find some images disturbing.
In this clinic in the city of Beni, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, doctors are treating a new patient. It's a 13-year-old girl who recently tested positive for Ebola virus disease. Ebola can cause headaches, fever, and severe hemorrhaging. Without treatment, it's nearly always fatal, so time is of the essence.
I'm in the process of helping my colleague in the cube regulate the patient's IV drip. We are working together. I can help from the outside.
Nearby are more patients. Janine in the white shirt and her two sisters have been here for 3 weeks. 7 members of their family are already dead.
When Mother died of Ebola, we didn't know what it was. We thought she was poisoned. My uncle died, my cousin, my aunt, my mom, my own brother, and my own sister. They all died.
Treating Janine and other Ebola patients is difficult. They need to be closely monitored. Doctors and nurses need to be able to help without putting themselves at risk.
Before this outbreak, most hospitals in this region didn't have facilities that were capable of treating Ebola patients. This year, health workers have introduced a new tool. They call it the Cube.
Ebola is spread through contact with bodily fluids, and the Cube allows additional health workers to treat patients from the outside without wearing cumbersome protective gear.
Before, it would take 15 minutes to be able to enter the room. Now, in a couple minutes, we can be helping a patient.
All right, who makes this Cube?
You know what it is? Can you imagine? Just try to describe for me what you think they're talking about.
It sounds like a huge tent that looks very much like a NICU, like an infant ICU, where you stick your arms through two holes and then you can bingo. I got him. Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So who makes this wonderful device?
I don't know. Some classic.
Now, where's this outbreak again?
Congo.
Yeah, there's something going on with Congo.
You think
they need to get in there?
Hey, you get the Ebola too.
Hold on, play the song. I mean, since we're doing the Ebola segment, we got so many jingles.
Now we got. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, work the jingles in.
Yeah, it's working.
Now there's a couple of gotchas in this. There's a couple of very interesting little zingers in the second part of this, and I want to see if you can spot even one of them.
It better be something about Chinese getting sick, because that's the only reason.
That's common.
There are medical personnel here from all over: Congolese physicians, international humanitarian organizations, the World Health Organization, and others. Just a couple years ago, they could give no medicines for Ebola. This year, they're using new experimental drugs. Now patients can receive donated medicine within hours of being admitted. Because of the crisis, a Congolese and international panel of experts approved the use of the new drugs before they ordinarily would. The WHO calls this a paradigm shift.
No, we call this testing on poor black people is what we call it.
You got it. You nailed it. That's exactly the clip. And he says, then the guy has the gall to say, we call this a paradigm shift.
Paradigm shift. Instead of testing it on mice, we shift the paradigm to testing it on black people. Woohoo!
On one hand, you're incredibly nervous because not many people have given these drugs before, and not many people have received them. But on the other hand, there's a sense of excitement and a sense of hope, because for the first time we have something that we can use to directly fight against the virus.
There's also a new vaccine. A 2015 field trial in West Africa found the vaccine to be, quote, effective. So though it, too, isn't yet fully approved by global health authorities, more than 15,000 people in this region have been vaccinated on compassionate grounds. The goal is to forestall an epidemic.
Wow! They've been vaccinated on compassionate grounds. In other words, well, you may die from the shot, but at least we love you.
Authorities.
Wait, hold on. The thing is, earlier in there, you missed this one, which I thought I was very quizzical when I heard this. What would you say this is? The vaccine has been, quote, effective.
And a sense of hope, because for the first time we have something that we can use to directly fight against the virus.
There's also a new vaccine. A 2015 field trial in West Africa found the vaccine to be, quote, effective. So though...
What does that mean?
It means you die. But, quote, it's effective. Well, it's effective in killing you.
It, too, isn't yet fully approved by global health authorities.
No.
More than 15,000 people in this region have been vaccinated on compassionate grounds. The goal is to forestall an epidemic, one that could sweep the region and beyond.
Man, good. I'm glad you brought those clips. In fact, that one actually, I think that deserves a borderliner because there was some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Clip of the day.
A quote borderline clip of the day.
Ebola, he come from Africa.
Everybody now. It's a good one, John. Wow. Okay, so we're killing people. Is this Bill and Gates?
Quote,
Bill Gates.
killing him.
Is this Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? Quote unquote. Who's running this op?
It just said everybody and their sister apparently is there.
Jeez. Well, let's talk about drugs for a moment. I've stayed on the story, which I think is pretty big. The drug price requirement now that I think it's going into effect. It won't go into effect this year. It won't go into effect probably until 2019. But the idea is just like there's some requirements for side effects. There's also requirements like in car commercials, your miles per gallon, and a lot in the small print. But the Trump administration came out and said, "Look, we need you guys to put the monthly retail price. That's the top line, the big amount. You got to put it in really big letters on the screen so everybody knows." And it's confusing a lot of people. It's not confusing NPR that much because NPR, I don't think they have a lot of pharma underwriters, as we call them, quote unquote underwriters, sponsors, advertisers, whatever you want to call them. So they can still talk about it. You don't hear much of this convo anywhere on the mainstream because certainly cable news lives from the
network news too.
Yeah, they live from the $5 billion. It's 4.2 for television, and it's about another $1.5 billion for print and online. I guess I'm surprised online doesn't get more. Maybe the numbers are off. But this is a big moment. There's three big advertisers. Verizon is the huge advertiser. Telco is big. Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile, but Verizon is the biggest advertiser in the United States. And then you have the pharma companies who collectively billions of dollars, and it all goes to certainly the pharmaceutical ads. Just watch some television. You'll see it. That's where they are. It's on cable news. So let's talk about this with our friends over at NPR, mainly the requirements that the government has put on the industry.
Sure. So on Monday...
Oh, yeah. You're going to love this millennial. There's a couple of good millennials on NPR these days.
Sure. So on Monday...
I'm just going to keep playing it.
Sure. So on Monday, the administration proposed a rule that would require drug companies to list a product's monthly wholesale price or the cost of a typical course of treatment if a monthly price doesn't make sense.
Listen to her. This should not be allowed in professional news reporting, in my old-fashioned opinion.
If the drug costs more than $35 for 30 days, and the information would have to appear in TV ads in a written format and have to be large enough for people to read.
You're not going to get through.
Be in a written
Information would have to appear in TV ads in a written format and it'd have to be large enough for people to read, so you couldn't just, kind of put that tiny fine print in there. And they also are suggesting to include some other language, like a statement that patients with health insurance may pay a different sum than this amount.
Now, you thought she's just a Hummer, but oh no. She's an uptalker as she talks about the legalities of all of this.
Does HHS have the power to compel pharmaceutical companies to do this? It wasn't clear to me if Congress had given the Department of Health and Human Services that power.
Well, that's definitely a question that people are debating this week, and I think the pharmaceutical industry thinks they don't and plans to file. They've indicated they will likely file legal action on those grounds. HHS is saying that there's a lot of Supreme Court precedent and First Amendment rulings that says that the federal government can require disclosure of factual information from companies. If that disclosure furthers some government interest and is not burdensome. They pointed to cases like car ads where car
ads? What is this? She's a reporter. She's not just some schmuck calling in. She's a reporter for NPR, and she talks about car ads and about car companies and about pharmaceuticals.
Manufacturers are also required to disclose this. There's a number of other industries. Some insurance industries have to do this as well. They also say basically they're using their authority that Congress has given Medicare and Medicaid to operate efficiently. And because drug advertising...
I almost spit out my coffee on that one. I forgot. Efficiently.
Has given Medicare and Medicaid to operate efficiently.
She better be really hot, man.
And because drug advertising
she's not
can influence utilization of people using drugs, maybe lead people to seek out drugs that they might not otherwise need or cost more than other medications that could fit their condition. They're saying this fits into this broad efficiency mandate Congress has given them.
Okay.
Gosh, she's going to fall apart. The vocal fry is going to break up her whole body and crumble.
She's going to need some pharmaceuticals by the end of her reporting career. So now we move to a pharma lobbyist. Yes. So we want some guys on the other side to tell us what is going on with this, and we have to resist.
So first of all, I'm seeing here that the Department of Health and Human Services says that the drug industry has spent more than $5.5 billion on advertising in 2017, nearly $4.2 billion of that on television ads. And HHS also says that advertising can result in increased utilization through patients demanding costly drugs and products based on messaging, which increase government costs.
What is it with the reads on NPR? Even the serious ones are talking about messaging. It's like, what is happening? What makes this happen? This is not something.
Milieu.
Yeah.
I think it's just pick it up in the milieu. Next thing you know, you're in the milieu, and the next thing you know, you're talking like this.
Yeah, all of a sudden you just have some words go off the radar.
Vocal fry. Maybe the vocal fry.
So I'm going to presume that if pharmaceutical companies are spending more than $4 billion on television advertising, that perhaps there's some truth to what HHS is saying, that it can influence patient choices.
No, wait. What? You're telling me advertising can influence someone's choice?
Never heard of such a thing.
If the advertising is that effective, I just want to get to why the pharma industry is resisting the idea of having some price transparency in those ads. Isn't it one of the best ways to inform patients? I mean, you're informing them about all the potential benefits of the drug. Why not inform them of the material cost?
She clearly does not understand. Now, this would not fly on a commercial network. She'd be off. You can't. Are you crazy, woman?
I'd fire her.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think two things. Number one, I don't think it impacts per se choices. I think it does impact awareness, though. What I think ads are meant to do is raise awareness about a particular disease and lead a patient to have a conversation with their physician.
Oh, this is the old call your doctor. Like you can call your doctor. Like there's a doctor.
He's picking up the phone.
Yeah. Well, unless you have concierge medicine, which is getting pretty darn popular, you can call your doctor. But no. It's about telling you that you're sick, that you have a problem, and in most cases, the pharmaceuticals advertised these days are enhancers of the problem you already have. So, hey, is your antidepressant meds not working?
Restless leg syndrome, baby.
And I can say direct-to-consumer advertising of pharmaceuticals is one thing that brings patients to the physician's office. But in the emergency department, people come, after seeking information from a wide array of sources. I mean, folks Google, symptoms. Folks are reading WebMD. They are getting information from a wide variety of sources.
Yes, which Big Pharma is feeding and seeding. WebMD is completely under control of the pharmaceutical industry. You go to WebMD and say, whoa, these are the symptoms I have. Before you know it, you're taking some kind of pill. Do not go to WebMD, please.
So I think all of the kind of mass media that we have today leads to increased awareness. It doesn't necessarily lead to, that might not be the right medicine for the patient. It may just be the start of a conversation. At the end of the day, it's really up to the physician, working with the patient.
Yeah, who's also on the back end, ready for you with your question.
Understanding their concerns, making the best decision for the patient.
One more from this douchebag. This is specifically about the antidepressant meds. Let's call them antidepressants.
I think that overall it moves the health literacy conversation in the right direction.
Oh, yes, and towards our pocketbook.
You think about an illness like depression. To be honest, folks didn't talk about depression 20 years ago.
No, they were too depressed.
The advertising that occurred to raise awareness about antidepressant medications led a number of folks to start talking about the symptoms of depression.
We should be thanking them.
They've been talking about depression since I was a little kid.
They need to be thanking them for starting the conversation, John. This is very good that they're advertising. One of the only two countries in the world that advertises direct to consumers of your poison.
You think about, all sorts of diseases where folks just didn't talk about it. It wasn't, it was perhaps stigmatized. There were a variety of reasons that maybe they weren't brought up. And so while you may not like a specific advertisement, overall, if we're raising awareness about serious illnesses like depression, HIV, hepatitis, infectious diseases, vaccines, there are all sorts of reasons why we want people to seek medical care.
Yes. Because you want people to think they're sick and they need your stuff for, like you said, restless leg syndrome.
If I may, are you really, you're not really taking credit for increased awareness around mental illnesses like depression. You're not letting advertising.
This woman can't breathe through her nose, apparently. She just can't breathe through her nose.
Well, that's why she's not in PR.
Credit for that, are you?
I wouldn't take, we certainly wouldn't take full credit, but I would say that talking about things or putting things on television, raising awareness of what symptoms for diseases might be can certainly be helpful and moving the needle on illnesses that maybe weren't talked about, or somebody may not have wanted to talk to their doctor about it.
Yes. Jeez. I just found that whole conversation to be horrible.
Yeah, it was.
My goodness. Yeah, it's really, 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 really bad.
If these guys want to fight this little thing about putting the price on there, why don't we just pass a law and just refuse them access and you can't do these ads. All this stuff is nonsense. The fact that they allow them to do these ads and sell people stuff that they really,
of course,
that just end up gouging the public in general because of the insurance companies pick it up.
Well, I think it's a good double whammy from the Trump administration. One, these prices are too high. Two, the main thing is people will start to see the discrepancy in what you're paying, and they may even be able to figure out that when you have a copay, it's based on a percentage of that high official retail number, which is not at all the number the insurance company pays. They pay about 30% of that. But your own copay is based on 100% of the jacked up number, which the insurance company never pays. That's the scam. That's one of the many scams, and that's what they really don't want people figuring out. I'm sure they'll find all kinds of ways, and they're going to flood the web. There's going to be a lot of money coming into the web, the WebMDs, but also Instagram people, influencers. You watch. We'll be overrun with this stuff if this passes, which I think it will. I mean, it's not even I think it's just a regulation that the FDA can put in place, or Health and Human Services through the FDA. I don't think there's any law. It doesn't have to go through Congress, does it?
I doubt it. Most laws don't go through Congress. Let's face it. How about doing a little thing on this? I didn't know this. Apparently, Steve Bannon is the one behind the Bolsonaro election in Brazil to put this right-wing pro-business guy in.
Wait, the guy who got stabbed?
No, this is the election. No, the Brazilian president election.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Venezuela.
This was only Democracy Now! Plays this sort of thing. I have to give him credit for this.
In Brazil, the far-right front-running presidential candidate, Jair Bolsonaro, is being accused of profiting from a misinformation campaign smearing his opponent, Fernando Haddad. Haddad's leftist Workers' Party is calling for an investigation into the campaign allegedly funded by pro-Bolsonaro entrepreneurs using the popular social networking platform WhatsApp. Meanwhile, a campaign video released by Haddad is drawing attention to the link between Bolsonaro and President Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon.
I'm sorry, I was right. This is the guy that got stabbed. He's still in the hospital from the stabbing.
Bolsonaro?
Yes.
When did Bolsonaro get stabbed?
At the beginning of September.
Oh.
Steve Bannon is accused of sabotaging democratic regimes around the world. He uses fake news to spread fear and violence to win elections. Bannon is a specialist in spreading terror around the world. Bolsonaro has spent the last 30 years doing this in Brazil.
Haddad and Bolsonaro are set to face off in the final round of Brazil's elections, October 28th.
Now, wait a minute. Did they just compare him to Bannon, or did they say he was running the campaign?
Bannon's running the campaign.
And he got his guy stabbed.
I don't know anything about this stabbing.
Okay. Brazilian presidential candidate Jair Bolsonaro recovers in a hospital room Saturday, September 8th, as he was stabbed during a rally.
Ago. That's a while ago.
It's 2 months ago.
Well, it's not like he got stabbed because of Bannon.
That's what you say. What do you know? I don't know.
And I actually wonder about the validity of that story.
So I don't think Bannon, he's too busy making movies about how great Trump is. Did you see that?
I don't know. I don't know anything. I was taken aback by this story when it turns out that Bannon's behind the Bolsonaro campaign because he's out there destroying democracies. This is a side of Bannon I didn't know.
I find it sketchy.
Do you think?
I do want to go OTG for just 1 second before we get to our break.
Yeah, good.
Off the grid OTG, I'm always looking for the phone that will give me the least possible tracking by Silicon Valley companies, and of course, we're not going to stop all the tracking from our intelligence. But the whole idea is that you don't use it because you don't really need it, and you're not disturbed, and you're much healthier. You can watch all the other zombies walking around with bent backs and their arms raised, and they're looking at their phones. And there is a new one on the horizon. I want to report on these things. This new one you may have seen got a lot of attention the past few days over the weekend from Kyocera, the company that makes the flip phone I like a lot, the Dura XE, for about $150 on Amazon. They're coming up with a new one, credit card sized, does phone, text, and has a little web browser on an e-ink screen, so it's completely undesirable to use, but you could use it if you needed some web access at that very moment. Looks like it's going to be about $300 being released in Japan first. Yeah, I told you this is where people are going to go. They want to get off of the grid from time to time. And so we have the Punkt 2 coming. We've got the Light Phone 2. There's a lot of these devices. And this is Kyocera, or Kyocera, however you pronounce it. Pretty big company. So I like it.
It's pronounced Kyocera.
It is Kyocera?
Yeah. Now, I think these prices are too high. You can buy a smartphone with a flat, like a Apple clone phone for $40-$50.
Yeah, but you do not want a smartphone. This is the whole point.
But who's going to pay $300 if you don't want to be tracked? Turn the phone off.
It's not about not being okay, John. You have no standing because you're not following with the program. The idea is exactly that. There's a difference between having communications in your pocket when you need it and turning it off and not taking it with you. And that's the sweet spot that is really going to be big. And you've mocked me.
Why can't it be big and cheap?
Well, it could be, but this is America, baby. Look, it's $300. I agree. It's too expensive for what they're giving you. But at least it's not $1,300 with a thing that tracks you and makes you sick. And I have to give one man.
I'm not even going to comment on the $1,300 phone.
Yeah. I'm going to credit someone else with the true identification of this trend. It is a trend. I don't care what you say. If it's too expensive or not, the trend is going to feature phones that don't do very much, keep you in minimal contact. And I have to say, it is Lindsey Graham who predicted the OTG movement in 2015 before I even did. And I have the clip to prove it. Do you remember when President Trump gave out Lindsey's cell phone number?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. That was very funny.
And he made a very funny video, or kind of funny for his doing, that he was smashing his phone and getting rid of it. And it actually, if you look at the video, it is the Kyocera flip phone, the Dura, that I've liked so much. And he talked about it with one of our mainstream media reporters, and he makes this bold prediction.
Let me ask you, when Donald Trump gave out your phone number, did your phone start ringing off the hook?
Oh, yeah, it blew up. The phone is now, we're moving on. One way to make sure that your phone can't be used is for somebody to give your number out on national television. But Donald's done something my staff could not do, and that's get me to upgrade to a better phone, and I'm marching forward.
I was going to say, a flip phone these days looks like you're really holding on to the tail end of a trend there.
Absolutely. I was trying, because it's coming back one day, It will be the new thing one day. But
listen to that prediction.
Unfortunately, the flip phone has probably seen its last days, and I'm going to have to make a decision to move forward. And Donald Trump, in that regard, thanks a bunch.
There you go, Lindsey Graham, 2015, predicting one day it's coming back. How right he was. He is the oracle, the sage.
Yeah, that's what I've always called him. Sage.
The sage. Did you see this article that's speaking of OTG, which could also be old-time gear instead of off the grid? Someone found an article of yours from 1983 after you had come back from Comdex. And this is and I put it in the show notes, it's fantastic. I shall read this. Tell me if you remember this article you wrote, 1983. The most interesting product at Comdex was the Expando-Vision cartridge from Simutech of East Lansing, Michigan. Does this ring a bell?
Not yet.
I showed up at its booth with Chicago's software bigwig Satara Khalsa. We were greeted.
Satara.
We were greeted by a not-too-friendly but cute hostess named Carrie. She was in one of those undersized, pantless tuxedos worn by the Rockettes. This is great. This is history, ladies and gentlemen. You don't even see this anymore. The Expando-Vision software package allows your home computer to insert subliminal messages into your regular TV viewing. Ring a bell yet?
Yeah, I remember this.
Apparently, this hooked up to your Atari 400 computer and you would you would insert it into your, connect it up to your TV, and then it would put little subliminal messages in there. And here's John C. Dvorak. The most interesting, to me at least, was a software package entitled Sexual Confidence, in parens, not that I need it. Really? I loaded this cartridge into an Atari 400 and offloaded the messages to see what they were. The package comes up with a menu, and the top of the menu says Sexual Invitation. I thought to myself, what could this be all about? I suppose the idea is that you invite a targeted friend over to watch a little TV. Innocent enough, she'll think. Then you turn on the computer and see what happens. I examined the messages used in the sexual invitation mode. There are 9 of them, and they are continually cycled with one flashed every 2 minutes. The messages are, sex is okay. Let us make love. I am okay. We share sexuality. Let us kiss. Let us caress. Let us be naked. We explore bodies. Let us be together. And this is some outstanding reporting. This belongs in a time capsule.
Oh, yeah.
This was a real product, huh?
Yeah. That guy, Sitara, was a very interesting character. He had a Rolls Royce, lived in Chicago. He was Robin Williams' guru for at least 2 or 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, he would hang out. You go to one of these events, and there'd be him and Robin be there. And
did he have any gray poop on in his Rolls Royce?
He was a super super tall, good reference though, super tall redheaded guy who was a Sikh. Huh. And he's the one who told me that the Sikhs believe that their hair are antennas, and you get different. You know how
you can tune into different stuff.
You get CW when you get as long as they should be.
Is he resonant on 20 meters?
He had his hair was like down to his knees, so probably.
Now, the best part of this article is the hijinks of John C. Dvorak at Comdex. I removed the success motivation cartridge from the demo machine in the booth and replaced it with the sex cartridge and programmed it to run the sexual invitations. We left the booth and left poor Carrie in her pantless tuxedo to deal with the passing showgoers who would watch the TV for a few moments and then look at her with thoughts of seduction. Great gag, I thought. December 26, 1983, ladies and gentlemen. Only can you get that kind of comedy stylings here on the No Agenda Show.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
Yeah, them's were the days.
Good times, bro.
Before we start, I do have a Baroness Bang Bang of the California Central Coast, Ventura to Santa Cruz.
Bang Bang. Baroness Bang Bang of
the California Central Coast, Ventura to Santa Cruz.
Got it. Got it. I got it.
All right, so we do have a few people to thank for show 1078.
Yes.
Starting with, this is no good.
No, we start with Tony Santos.
Well, I don't... Oh,
I have Tony Santos from Sicklerville, New Jersey.
Okay. Never mind. Sorry.
Let me guess. It's that damn Excel thing again.
No, it wasn't that at all. I was scrolled over and I just looked at this thing peculiar. I had the wrong view on. Okay, Tony Santos in Sicklerville, New Jersey, $111.11. Thanks for the past 11 years of sanity. Sir Cal in Northville, Michigan, another $111.11, which will be the thematic donation for the show on Thursday.
Yes, and Cal, of course, is from lavenderblossoms.org.
He's in Northville, Michigan.
It's our CBD dealer.
Our CBD guy.
Dealer.
Well, it's still available.
Yeah.
Bart Gallo in Hoboken, New Jersey, $111.11. He has a thing here we should read.
He has a call out to his friend Gabe as a douchebag. But also he wants to throw in an instant de-douching, if this is allowed, he says, for buying me a framed No Agenda poster for my birthday earlier this year. I don't know.
I would say that's a personal thing between Bart and his friend Gabe.
Yeah.
And we can't approve a dedouching at this point.
No. The peerage committee has spoken.
Well, it's not a peerage issue. It's a.
Well, then put the other hat on. Put the bookkeeping hat on when you say these things.
Okay, no. Answer, no. Sir Viscount Donald Borowski, our buddy in Spokane Valley. He's actually Sir Donald of the Fire Bottles, Viscount of Eastern Washington State, WA6 OMI 73s.
73s. Was there any other note there? Anything else in the note?
Yeah, no jingles, no. No, he didn't come in with his normal Space Federation stuff.
No, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, 73 is Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie.
And it concludes our well wishers for the 11111 thing for this show. So we'll see what happens on Thursday. This time we had 4 people
for our big 11th, our celebratory week.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be very. Nobody seems to be too enthusiastic. David Wright, $102.12. He's guilty of being a douchebag, he says. This is his first donation. Give him a de-douching.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
He says, Mark's my first donation to the best podcast in the universe since I started listening around show 888. Please accept this my penance in exchange for a thorough de-douching. Got that? If time allows, please give a shout-out to Sir Burgess of the Ozarks. Thank him for hitting me in the mouth and for not calling me out as a douchebag. I know his vague call-out was directed towards me in part, but alas, it applies no longer. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, David Wright. Love and light to David Wright.
Richard Spasto in Burbank, California, $101.01. Sir Rick, our buddy in Arlington, Washington, $69.96. Donna Napier, $66.60. Sir Steve McConnell in Cortland, Ohio, $60. John Kendall, Sandy, Utah, $58.85. Birthday shout out on the list. Michael Mataloni in Appleton, Wisconsin, $55.41. He's Sir Phenom of Patriots Nation, technically. Sir Chris of the Vortex Ring, $51. And the following, and then Andrew Benz of Imperial, Missouri, $50.05. The following people are $50 donors, name and location.
I like the $50.05. I'm not sure if that signifies anything, but it's a nice palindrome sauce. Sauce.
Benz always sends that in.
Ah, gotcha.
Francis Perez, 50. Andrew Gussick in Greensboro, North Carolina, also 50. Thomas Dillon, Laverne, California. George Wojciech, I think, in Universal City, Texas. Daniel LeBoy in Bath, Michigan, and Sir Paul from Horseheads, 50. That concludes our little group. A short list.
Yeah.
For show 1079. We're coming to show 1080, which will be the 11th anniversary show for the No Agenda show.
So I think that maybe people are just holding back. You know, it's a coil and it's ready to spring. Everyone's going to celebrate the 11th bigly.
Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope indeed. But we appreciate it whenever someone does anything for the show, no matter what. But specifically, sorry. Yeah, it's a little bit of mold still in the air.
Mold!
Here. A little bit of mold. But you know, in particular, just thank you so much for the financial support. We need as much as we can get to keep it going, to keep the ups and the downs kind of in some normalized state. Which leads me to thanking people who do subscriptions. That is a big plus for us. We have many. And anyone else who came in under $50, which is typically for reasons of anonymity. Also a special, let me see, Jobs Karma. This comes from Sir Mike Gates, Baron of the rest of Colorado. This is no slouch. Guys, I got laid off at the beginning of August. I had lots of rejections, some good interviews, but no offers. I've been able to keep up my monthly donation to the best podcast in the universe, but I really need some Jobs Karma. Give me some of the good Pelosi stuff. None of that weak Trump's job karma, please. Your twice weekly deconstruction coupled with my leaving Facebook has done wonders for my mental health, which is why I've continued with a monthly donation, value for value. Keep up the good work. Sir Mike Gates, Baron of the rest of Colorado. Thank you, sir. This should help.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Now with a little special blow-in from John, that should do it.
It's your birthday. Oh, no agenda.
And today is the 21st of October, 2018. We say, well, happy birthday to William Messing. That's what Sir Chris of Carmel by the Sea says. William Messing will turn 50 tomorrow on the 22nd. Dale Norman says happy birthday to Sir Favunk of the Trolls, also celebrating tomorrow. David Wright says happy birthday to his daughter, Voudre Opal Wright. She turns 2 today. And John Kendall says happy birthday to his beautiful wife, Megan Kendall. She also celebrates today, October 21st. And we say happy birthday from all your friends and Uncle John and Adam here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't want to be a douchebag.
Sir Back County Ranger changes his title today to Sir Compost Ranger, but we have an actual upgrade, which my faux pas I did not handle on the previous show. Dame Bang Bang has upgraded her title to Baroness Bang Bang of the California Central Coast, Ventura to Santa Cruz, and we thank her and Sir Back County Ranger and everybody else who supported this episode, number 1079 of the No Agenda Show. The big one, 1080, our 11th anniversary celebration is coming up on Thursday. Please remember us for that at Dvorak.org/NA. And no nightings or anything. That's none of that today. No. None of that today. No.
What are you going to do? All right. Well, we have a big march going on, a big celebration from Guatemala to the United States.
Is that that's a celebration?
A celebration of their heading through to the United States. Now, I'm getting the wrong impression about this, and I think a lot of it has to do with the left-wing reporting. Like, let's play. I got 3 clips, but let's play the Guatemala Caravan by Amy Goodman.
In immigration news, a migrant caravan of about 4,000 Hondurans is continuing its journey toward the U.S. border as the migrants flee rampant violence and economic deprivation. Trump has lashed out against the caravan on Twitter, attacking at turns Democrats, his Central American counterparts, and the migrants. Trump has also threatened to cut foreign aid to Central American countries, nullify the new U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade deal if Mexico doesn't stop the migrants and even deploy troops to close the border.
Now, there's some connection that she makes with these Hondurans, with the who I keep calling Guatemalans, with the election of some character in Honduras that we supported, some economic hitman.
Oh, it's
deal.
our fault.
Everything's our fault.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the impression that this thing was further along because it's been reported for weeks, but it's still at the Mexican border down there.
Well, now, I saw a video. Didn't they break through the border?
A couple of people did, but we have to get the bigger reports, and we do have some good reporting. And mostly at the bridge, which is the bridge that's going into Mexico, where the Mexicans stop these guys, and they're jumping off the bridge into the water and swimming over, and they're trying to sneak across, but most of them appears to have been stopped. So they're not in Mexico marching up to us as though the Mexicans can't stop that. But let's play. Let's try. I got these 2 different reports. Try the CBS one first.
Well, thousands of Central American migrants who are trying to get into the U.S. are still blocked at Mexico's southern border. A number of women and children were allowed through today, while others found their own way in. Adriana Diaz is there.
This is the latest stop on a risky journey to a new future, or at least the hope of one. Countless migrants, mostly from Honduras, slept overnight on this bridge that stretches from Guatemala to Mexico. On Friday, the massive group tore down a fence, allowing some people to stream through. Their reasons are clear, according to this Honduran migrant. He said there's hunger, corruption, insecurity, and uncertainty. That's forcing Hondurans to leave our country because we can't live there anymore. Mexico is processing some women and children for entry. But today, others avoided the mostly deadlocked bridge by going under it. They used makeshift boats, little more than inner tubes, and plywood. 17-year-old Jimmy Aron Hernandez was one of them. How old are you? ¿Cuántos años tienes?
¿Cuántos años tienes?
17. 17. ¿A dónde quieres ir? Where do you want to go?
Estados Unidos.
To the United States. Why? ¿Por qué?
Porque quiero hacer una nueva vida, sacar a mi familia adelante.
You want to start a new life and help your family move forward. The few people who have the proper paperwork, who have passports, who have visas, will be allowed into Mexico. The others, there he goes. He just jumped. And he's swimming. The water where he is pretty shallow. But there are parts of this river where the water reaches chest deep or deeper. It is dangerous to jump. But this is what a lot of people are resorting to in order to get to Mexico any way they can.
Federal police were there to keep order, but not stop illegal crossings. Further south in Guatemala, police tried to create a blockade, but this truck tore through it, helping migrants join the caravan.
For the thousands still stuck on this bridge, there are few options. Some are waiting to try to be processed by Mexican immigration. Others are returning back to the Guatemalan side, and some are still jumping from the bridge to try to swim to the Mexican side. Rena?
Incredible images. Adriana Diaz, thank you. Say a new treatment is showing promise.
Stop. That should have been cut earlier. Now here's the PBS report.
Well, that was riveting.
No, it wasn't that good. It should have been cut when he jumped from the bridge. That's where I had it cut. I don't know why.
Okay.
So it was a miss. It was
a miss. I actually kind of liked hearing that stupid. Oh, another one just jumped in. Oh, the guy's just jumping on into the water.
I know.
They can stand.
Let's try the invasion update on PBS. This is from Saturday, I think.
The caravan of migrants heading north from Central America has gotten smaller overnight at the Mexico-Guatemala border. Some of the thousands of mostly Honduran migrants escaping violence and poverty have crossed into Mexico, both legally and illegally. Others retreated after a confrontation with Mexican riot police. After meeting with Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto yesterday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that Mexico has sent 500 federal agents to its southern border. President Trump is threatening to cut off aid to Central American countries if they don't stop migrants from leaving, and says he's considering sending active-duty troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Federal troops are prohibited from deployment on U.S. soil to enforce domestic laws.
Now, who sent these? Why are these people decided to all come at once? Not they don't dribble.
Because someone's paying them, handing out cash. We have video.
Has to be it.
Well, there's video of it.
Why doesn't that reported on? Why doesn't anybody report on that?
Because it's professional courtesy. When another gang is doing something with the people and trying to make some news, you just report on it. You don't expose them. It's professional. When someone's paying people to do something to make a political point, you let them go. You report on it. You don't bust the ring. That's not how journos work. What other explanation is there?
There is zero explanation for this except somebody has either paid these people off or organized them or something to get them all to do this at once into one large caravan, as it's presented on Democracy Now! It's a caravan. But we get no information whatsoever about who's behind it or why they're doing it. Besides, we have corruption in Honduras.
These people fear for their lives. That is the party line. These people fear for their lives. They are being killed, although I see no evidence of this per se. And that's why they are coming to the United States to claim asylum.
Yeah,
oh, yes. Well. Beto, I forgot, as a part of my Beto report. Well, what is Beto's policies? First policy, he's pro-legalization of weed. At which point I said, you had me at weed. But then, he's against the wall. But he wants the DACA kids to be legalized immediately. Says that is immigration policy? Yes. No wall, legalize the DACA kids. Okay, thanks. So these guys aren't talking about it either.
No.
All right.
Well, it's just an attack on the country as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but it's good for Trump. So whoever's paying for it, that's why you don't hear me say it's Soros, because this could easily be the Republicans by saying, look, this is what we have to deal with. It's just as rotten as everybody else. So
I'm not going to argue that.
Now, Elizabeth Warren, was it her? Oh, I want to go there in a second. Here's something else. California. You have the net neutrality law in effect now, I believe. Is that correct? Didn't Jerry sign off on it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's signed off, and I don't know if it's in effect, but probably.
Okay. And the idea of net neutrality is all traffic is neutral, and ISPs may not make any exceptions. That's the idea. So that the little guy can't get screwed with this little stream. And so your Netflix won't buffer. Am I correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
And was it not Verizon that came into a very bad light because they cut off the firefighters in California because they had run out of data?
Bastards.
That was Verizon, correct?
I believe so.
And so these guys they couldn't use their account. They had to switch to a different account, according to the Verizon rep, because they had run out of data. And of course, these guys are there fighting fires and they needed data. And so it was a bad PR story for Verizon. So they come back. But do they come back and do they say, hey, California firefighters, we're dedicating our lives to you? Well, not exactly. It's all in the details. Here is their most recent television commercial.
Every call is different. So the only thing that we can do to make sure that we get there safely and then we leave that scene safely and go home at night is train. And we train all the time in the fire service.
No matter how much we train, the last thing you want in disaster is to lose communications. Without communications, people get hurt.
When disaster strikes, that is when your communication service can really become your lifeline. We are constantly innovating, from a dedicated lane on our network just for first responders to cell towers on wheels.
I'm sorry, a dedicated lane? A fast lane?
Well, that's got to be illegal.
That is illegal under net neutrality rules. I don't care if it's for telemedicine. I don't care if it's for firefighters. That is illegal. And I want you, John C. Dvorak, to make a point of it in California.
I'll try to figure out who's responsible for allowing this abomination.
Of all the things they could have said, they had to say a dedicated lane. Not line, a dedicated lane, which means it was exactly the language of net neutrality. A fast lane. This is exactly what should not be happening. So my Netflix is going to get buffered because these guys are fighting fires? Not according to the law, you're not.
I think you're on to something.
Not really.
You're on something.
It's just hypocritical bullcrap from everybody. But otherwise, yeah. Now,
talk about hypocritical bullcrap. Let me play this little clip about this sort of thing. This is a report on Democracy Now! About ProPublica reveals that the Trump real estate organization was kind of like playing dirty.
ProPublica reveals the Trump family regularly engaged in patterns of deceptive practices in their real estate deals around the world. The report finds President Trump and his...
Stop. First of all, I was taken aback by even the concept that any real estate company would have any sort of deceptive practices trying to move real estate, because it's unheard of.
It's an outrage that there's gambling going on.
I understand that some used car salesmen play tricks.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's un-American. No.
Deceptive practices in their real estate deals around the world. The report finds President Trump and his daughter Ivanka, now a senior advisor, regularly misled investors and buyers by inflating property sales numbers, giving a false sense of the viability of the projects. This comes as the Trump name was removed from yet another New York City building on Thursday after residents complained of security risks and reduced property values associated with the Trump name.
Oh, God. Okay.
Now, let's get this straight. The reason you would take the Trump name off of a building in New York City if it wasn't the big Trump Tower,
so it doesn't get vandalized.
Yeah. It gets vandalized and people get harassed.
Yeah.
By Democrats.
People.
So let's be honest about these reports, Amy.
Elizabeth Warren. Couple of things here.
She has a nickname.
Yes, Betsy. Used to be Pocahontas, but that got taken away by Trump.
That's screwed.
So she did a DNA test, and that was a big joke, and everyone laughed about it. There's a little extra tail to this joke. You know the DNA company that she used?
It was 23andMe, wasn't it?
No. No, it was not. It's Family Tree DNA.
Oh.
which her ex-husband co-founded with Carlos Bustamante. You might remember that name, for that is the expert who told her that she definitely had Cherokee in her heritage. Inside job.
Huh.
Yeah. Company her ex-husband founded for DNA testing, and the co-founder who was happy to say, yeah, you're Cherokee. Way to go. But there is actual news about DNA. And this is pretty big. You've heard about it on the No Agenda show. We have experts in the field who have sent in many comments and said, yes, this is coming, this is happening, and it is here, and it is working.
In just 1 week, law enforcement's newest secret weapon helped solve its very first case in Utah. 2 News told you first and exclusively.
No, it was No Agenda. Stop it.
About a rapid DNA that started in Utah a couple of weeks ago.
Rapid DNA.
The portable machine analyzes DNA in less than 2 hours. Jim Spiewak was the very first person to show us this new technology. And Jim, experts fairly shocked by the speed at which this very first case was solved.
They say criminals beware, because this technology can be used by any agency across the entire state at no cost to that agency or you, the taxpayer. And experts go on to say it's going to help them put more criminals behind bars in jails like this one and others across the state.
Now, before they get into the report.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the machine is free and it doesn't cost anything to operate it?
It's free. You can use it. You can call them up and say, hey, I need a rapid DNA.
And then it doesn't cost anything. It's a free machine.
Freebie.
And nobody has
free.
to pay anything
no,
for it.
It's just free.
That's bull crap. Somebody's paying.
What this is a scare tactic, because you'll hear how it's implemented. And what it really does is scare people just by saying, oh, bro, we've got your DNA.
27-year-old Albert Hernandez of Hiram is literally the new face of Utah criminals caught with the help of rapid DNA technology, because he's the very first.
This is one step in the right direction. You know, obviously it was a successful outcome, and that's what we want to see.
Nate Mutter is trained on the rapid DNA machine. Working with Cache County Attorney James Swink, they got Hernandez to admit to his crimes with DNA proof in about 2 weeks. Swink was out of town, but spoke to me via FaceTime about the state's first guilty plea case.
We were able to corner him really quickly, and he knew it. Once we had the DNA, he knew it.
On September 9th.
Do you hear this? This gets very interesting.
No, you nailed this. This was good. I'm going to give you a clip of the day after this is over, because this your analysis is dead on. This is bull crap. This reminds me of a scene, I think it was in The Wire, where they took a copying machine and they put a bunch of paper in it that said true and false written on it, and they asked guys stupid questions, and then the machine would cough out the piece of paper that said true and false, buffaloing him into believing this was a lie detector that caught him.
Oh, yeah, wait until you hear how they did this guy.
Hernandez broke into a Cache County home, stole some stuff, and ran off. He left behind DNA Swink says would normally take months to process, leaving Hernandez on the streets.
He broke through a window. There was blood at the scene of the cabin, and also there was DNA that was taken off of a Diet Mountain Dew can.
He drank a Diet Mountain Dew can. They put the can in the machine. Son, we got your DNA. Might as well admit, otherwise we have to show you the results.
The AG's office owns and operates the 2 analyzers. DNA-filled test tubes are put into this mobile machine, and results are returned in about 90 minutes.
It just doesn't happen that fast in the criminal justice system.
Hernandez pleaded guilty to burglary, theft, possession of meth, and obstruction of justice. So with criminal number 1 behind bars, thanks to the new tool, who's next?
There's several in the works. I have a feeling that we're going to get hit with numerous in one day.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a bonanza. All you have to do is say...
By the way, they load up on this guy. He did one thing. They did obstruction of justice in this case, which they added to his charges, was him saying, no, I didn't do anything. Oh, okay. And then, look, we proved you did it. That's obstruction of justice. It's an abomination.
Regardless, I think it's a very stupid idea to give your DNA to anybody. Like 23andMe. I hovered over the mouse button for a moment. I want to really see if I have any Cherokee in me.
You definitely do.
And I was like, I really don't want my name. So you can put in a fake name, but I don't want my name associated with this. I really don't want it. Trolldar in the troll room actually made a good point. He said, you watch, LifeLock will soon be offering DNA lock up your DNA so no one can get to it. That's probably something good. That's probably something that's coming.
That sounds like something these guys would do.
But basically, you just have a box with a test tube holder on top and a display, kind of like the E-machine from Scientology in a way. It looks all snazzy, and you just put the Mountain Dew can in and shake it about, and it makes chip 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 chip, and then it spits out a printout. I mean, this is very, very cool how they're introducing this. And I'm looking forward to it.
Most of these criminals are idiots. Let's face it.
Yeah. Oh shit, man! You got my Mountain Dew can. All right, I'm done. And meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren is promoting something which at first I was very excited about it. It's like, oh, this is something I really want to sign up for. It's an education, and it turned out to be quite disappointing.
Today, I want to tell you about one group that has been helping to lead this fight by preparing us for the hard political battles that lie ahead. Resistance School. Resistance School offers free online skills-based trainings from leading experts and organizers who can teach you how to mobilize and organize most effectively. Check out Resistance School at resistanceschool.com. These tools and skills are free and online for you and for everyone else. Together, we can resist and persist.
Resist what?
America needs you right now. Will you join us?
Yes. Go to resistanceschool.com. I was so excited. I'm like, yes, I want to resist. I want to learn how to resist. This is horrible. It just shows you how to canvas. Shows you how to knock on doors.
Yeah, it wants you to tell people to vote Democrat. That's Resistance School.
Yes, of course it is. How to register voters. How to knock on doors. Resistance School. At Resistance School, you'll learn valuable schools like learning how to knock on doors. You'll learn how to hold a house meeting. And you'll learn how to canvass persuasively. Let's see some more.
With Tupperware could teach you more stuff.
What else do we have? Public narrative. How to build relationships. Oh, nice. Luis Avila.
As seen in the New York Times, The Nation, CNN. I mean, come on, people.
This is great.
How to knock on doors.
How to phone bank.
It actually says this. I'm telling you.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. No, I'm not kidding.
How to knock on doors.
Yes. Learn how to have a persuasive conversation at the door with former Obama and Clinton staffer Jason Gray. We'll provide you with key tips and give you a proven framework to use to learn how to knock on doors. ResistanceSchool.com. How to sustain in the resistance. These are great little lessons. How to defeat...
Resistance School!
How to defeat dog whistle politics. Oh! Here's Robert Reich. And of course, he has the stupidest course, Communicating Across Difference. Yeah, meh. Who wants that? We want to learn how to knock on doors, Robert Reich. This is boring. Isn't that interesting?
Dumb.
Yes, quite dumb.
This is definitely
stupid. It's
how to phone bank.
Yeah, I told you it was lame. Okay, so there's a couple things we need to talk about. You sent me a link about New York, and this is a very interesting story. I think it was in The Atlantic, and the title of it, Why New York Has So Many Empty Storefronts.
Oh, yeah. Now,
if you will summarize what this is about, then I'll tell you what happened when I read it.
This actually first came up in the conversation on DH Unplugged. And Horowitz asked some people about it because he went to New York. He goes to New York more than I do.
No, he's always drinking in New York. He doesn't see anything.
It's probably closer to the truth than
get a text from, hey man, how you doing? I'm great. I just had another IV.
Oh yeah, he
does these IVs after a night of drinking. It can't be good.
Yeah,
can't be good.
I recommend NAC. Anyway, he asked some people about this, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we're holding out for the big money because there's big money coming because the economy's booming, and we just don't want to rent as a locals. We want to get extra money for the when the economy starts cranking up, they're going to want these storefronts, and so that we're just not making it easy for anyone to get them just casually.
Well, so the article talks about New York pretty much being a ghost town. All these empty apartments owned by people who don't live in them. And because there's no people living in them, there's no shops. Because there's there's ATMs, there's Starbucks, there's massive chains, there's H&M, there's lots of chains everywhere, chain retail outlets. But no, there's nothing on the corner of the little shop you go to, the coffee shop where you get your bagel, or the little supermarket, the Korean grocer. All of that is gone because the article claims the rents have gone up like 80% in the past couple of years. 89%.
Driven a lot of people out.
And most everybody.
And so they board them up instead of getting cash flow. I don't get it personally. It seems like you want cash flow, but these guys are banking on something happening, and I don't see it happening.
I think it's just all big portfolios, and I think
there's some tax scam going on.
Could be. But when I read this and when Tina read this, we both said, Austin, this is exactly what's happening with Austin. All the cool little shops in downtown are all closing.
Why?
Rent's too high. They can't afford to rent downtown, and it's all Starbucks, and it's Bonobos, and it's Swatch. There's a Swatch retail store on 2nd Street.
There's a Swatch store anywhere.
Thank you. There's a lot of that. So it's a good art. It's a pretty good article. Read it, and you'll see what Austin is coming to. I have a final little sequence.
I'm seeing a lot of boarded up stuff in the Bay Area too. Now that you mentioned, I'm going to start looking more carefully.
Yeah.
I do have the lottery update with a kicker. I want to play that before we go, and also maybe the quick review of the Trump Montana rally.
Okay, let's do this lottery update. I'm about to buy my own ticket.
An estimated annuitized $1 billion. Let's see if I can make you a billionaire tonight.
But there was no winner in what had become the largest Mega Millions jackpot since the game began in 2002. The odds of hitting it big? 1 in 302.5 million. Lines formed across the country yesterday as people bought tickets for a shot at what was the second largest lottery prize in U.S. history.
1 billion mega. 1 billion, bro.
It's 1 bill. 1 bill.
There hasn't been a Mega Millions jackpot winner since July, and now officials say the jackpot could soar to tie the all-time record of $1.6 billion by Tuesday. There is good news for one lucky player in Morgan Hill, California, where at this gas station, a ticket matching 5 of 6 numbers was purchased. It's one of 15 tickets that's good for $1 million. But hitting it big doesn't always mean sustaining the lifestyle. According to the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards, nearly 1/3 of lottery winners declare bankruptcy.
A third of them.
Wow.
These are people that, for one thing, is you're kind of a loser to buy a lottery ticket because the odds are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you don't even, and the payout's not even. The payout is only half of the pot, so it's not even good odds even at that level. But so you're such a loser that you win the lottery and then you go broke. I mean, I know it's just beyond me.
I'm buying a ticket.
Hey, dude, you don't need another Ferrari.
I'm buying a ticket.
Yeah, well, of
course.
Well, I'm not. I figure I get the same odds as winning as you do.
Oh, no doubt, but it'll make me feel good.
Okay.
Very interesting little thing, little gotcha. Not getting a lot of attention yet, at least not in the way I would have expected it to. What's happening in Puerto Rico? Now you recall there was a pretty bad hurricane hit Puerto Rico. And the mayor of San Juan was just hating on Trump, just out there yelling and just making a big scene about how horrible he was and wearing not my president hats and just hating Trump and everything it is wrong. And he counted the number of people wrong and just screw that guy, stupid orange clown. And this happens.
FBI agents raided San Juan's municipal building on Tuesday amid an investigation into purchasing practices used by city officials, including Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz. Video posted on Twitter shows several uniformed FBI agents proceeding into the building Tuesday morning. Local journalist Luis Guardiola noted in a tweet that dozens of FBI agents were involved in the raid. A spokesman for the agency told news service ElNuevoDia.com that Tuesday's raid was related to an ongoing investigation investigation into whether the mayor's office and other city officials had shown favoritism when the city agreed to a contract with the company BR Solutions for $4.7 million over 2 years. FBI spokesman Carlos Osorio told the website, quote, "The raid helps us to confirm whether the allegations of irregularities are substantiated or not."
A little FBI raid for you.
Hello.
I'm so sorry. What were you saying? Yeah, here's a little FBI raid for you. I hate it when it seems really like that's being used as a weapon, which is pretty nasty.
It's illegal.
Pretty nasty. Pretty nasty. I don't see why they're not calling Orange Man bad.
Orange Man bad.
Orange Man very bad. I know, it's baffling.
Well, here's the review of Trump is all over the place again in Nevada and Montana at these rallies. And this is the Democracy Now! Take on it. Just finding the objectionable parts of the speeches of this hour-long act that he does. I just thought it was pretty funny to listen to Amy moan and groan about it.
At a rally in Montana Thursday, President Trump praised Montana Congressmember Greg Gianforte for physically assaulting a reporter.
Greg is smart. And by the way, never wrestle him. You understand that? Never. Any guy that can do a body slam, he's my kind of...
Last year, Gianforte body slammed the Guardian reporter Ben Jacobs.
Now, let's just review for a second before we continue with Amy. The term body slam was made up by the journalist himself.
Yeah.
There was a definite scuffle and the journalist wound up on the ground. But the idea of body slam, that the guy like jumped on him and slammed his whole body on top of him, is a bit of an exaggeration, I fear.
Well, I think that's not the imagery. The imagery is wrestling, where you've actually picked the guy up off the ground, so
and
then you throw him down onto the ground, so you slam him. You did a body slam.
Yeah, and I think for Trump to ignite that, to me, it may be great for what's happening there, but on the national stage, it made him look like a shitheel. Orange Man bad.
After he asked Gianforte a question about the Republicans' health care proposal. This is the audio Jacobs captured of Gianforte's attack on him.
Oh, great.
I'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah, but there's not going to be time. I'm just curious if you
have
speak
right
with
now.
Shane, please.
Sick and tired of you guys. The last guy that came here, you did the same thing. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. The last guy did the same thing. You were the Guardian?
Yes, and you just broke my glasses.
The last guy did the same damn thing.
You just body slammed me and broke my glasses.
Get the hell out of here.
If you'd like me to get the hot up, I'd also like to call the police.
Now, I hope that Amy explains what the guy did and the missing audio in front of that, where he was a total reporter dick, which gives no one license to attack him physically.
Well, the guy did get. He did get arrested and
sure, he deserved to.
Yeah, I agree.
Gianforte was elected to Congress, but he ultimately pled guilty to assaulting Jacobs. After Trump praised Gianforte at the rally Thursday night, the Guardian U.S. editor John Mulholland said, in the aftermath of the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, it runs the risk of inviting other assaults on journalists, both here and across the world, where they often face far greater threats. We hope decent people will denounce these comments and that the president will see fit to apologize for them, unquote. During the rally, Trump also once again attacked Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren over her recent DNA test claiming her Native American ancestry.
You know, the one good thing about her test is that there was so little. She had less than the average American. I used to say, I have more Indian blood in me than she does, and I have none. I used to say that.
To see our full coverage of Elizabeth Warren's DNA test, go to democracynow.org.
He says that. He always used to say that.
Hey, can't we jam that through the rapid DNA? Can't we just do that for everybody now? Just a quick rapid DNA should show you right away. Oh, she's Indian. Okay. Yeah, I think that I'm not a fan of Trump promoting violence. I don't like that.
Well, he gets called out a lot for it. He should probably stop.
Yes, he should stop. It's a shit move. I don't like it. Yeah. Now, on the other hand, I've wanted to bop a reporter or photographer for sure in my lifetime. Because they can be annoying.
Well, you can do it, but you're going to face charges.
Yes, charges, exactly. All right, everybody, I'm sure things have changed while we were just speaking. They seem to go very quickly today. Who knows what the coming few days will bring us? But for sure, we will be celebrating 11 years of media deconstruction on the best podcast in the universe on Thursday. We surely hope you show up for that one. And support us at Dvorak.org/NA. There'll be a newsletter with all the information. Until then, coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6 in the 5-by-9 Cludio in the common law condo in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm still lamenting the failure of Dijon to have any oomph in the United States. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday for our 11th anniversary. Until then, adios, mofos!
Obama, Ebola has passed on, bro. Ebola's gonna kill us all.
Resist, we must. They're all jitty about a shutdown. The tortoise in the race. Then co-author of Hubris. U2 lead singer Bono. Fran Drescher. Sigourney Weaver. Suspect Jahar Tsarnaev. Rush Limbaugh. The show Rush Lombard hosts Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Is Mike Muckery yesterday. Antonin Scalia, Kim Kardashian, and the Republican candidates, both Cairo and Benghazi, we rank behind Lavita. First stop, Kazakhstan to college students in Beijing. He's getting lunch at Chipotle in Iowa. Bane is appropriate. The GOP's tax day giveaway to millionaires. Why was traffic problems email sent? The Environmental Projection Agency. And what sequestration has done.
Before we went any further, is this particular clip, because it does bring out an issue that I think is floating around kind of as a subtext.
All right.
This guy floating around, just like being in a different dimension. It is like being in a different dimension. You just float around and don't cause trouble. Just floating all over the place. Apparently, people are floating around. Floating around. And when you're in them, floating around them, whether you're in them for a little short term or a long term, still floating around. And so they're floating around and they're stringing, because we have telephone poles around. Just floating all over the place. So why is he floating around anyway? That's what I thought this story was about. It was like
I got you.
Still floating around. This is a decade ago. This is before we started doing our show. This stuff was floating around.
Yes.
Just floating all over the place.
You get locked up. You. So when I said I like Trump, this is our president. That's my favorite superhero. This is our president. Because I had enough balls to put on this hat. No bullshit. But this hat, you fall and you end up next to the unicorn. It's called the Yeezy effect. No bullshit. But this hat, you get locked up. Because in an alternate universe, I am him. Because no bullshit. This is our president. I was diagnosed with these races. Force versus power. Force versus power. Force versus power. He looked at my brand just like us. He looked at my brand. I was bullshit. I was diagnosed with force versus just like us. I'm gonna go ahead. You fall and you. I'm gonna go ahead. Hate. I'm do illegal thing. You get locked up. 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 And turn to a slave. In the cheapest factory ever, the prison system. The best podcast in the universe.
Adios.
mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Woohoo! Like shooting fish in a barrel. Are you getting this, baby? I love you.